we should be live. Let's see if everything's working correctly. Just gonna post the stream. If people are already here, thanks so much for joining. I'll take a few minutes to set up though. All right, welcome everyone. I'm just still setting up a little bit. I think you can see the game if I'm gonna go into it now. I was thinking about streaming Ludo versus 10-foot. They both have rather explosive decks. Obviously Lightsworn can pump out a lot of damage in one go. Seems like they already started. I've seen Ludo do crazy plays, turn 1, turn 2, just pop off and destroy his opponent in one go. So let's see if that happens again in one of the next games. Seems like it's a little a little more of a back and forth here with the Gores, but he's able to get rid of it with a Gem Spark. All right. Well, looking at it, Ludo has a lot of back row, so he needs to think of some sort of protection in case 10-foot does have something like a heavy storm. Getting rid of all that back row. Probably also sides in Royal Decree in the next game. Decides just to set a monster, so yeah, 10-foot's going for a rather slow game. Doesn't have the solar recharge or the charge that you realistically want to have just to get those plays going, get those names into the graveyard, get the Judgment Dragon out, being able to destroy the entire board, push a lot of damage. It's not here right now. Let's see if that's coming up though. It would be great, obviously, for 10-foot to be able to mill a bunch of stuff and yeah, get this game going for himself. So Ludo passes Prio in damage calculation. Both have the ability of Honest, and 10-foot has it. He drops it. So whatever that token is at, it's at 1900. Okay, so that was due to the Neos alias. Take that 1900 damage. Android goes to the graveyard. So the field presence definitely is for 10-foot at this point, but Ludo can grab it back if 10-foot is not able to go for a push over this ocean. With 5 back rows, it's going to be very difficult. Can't imagine there's nothing like a Dimensional Prison or something like that set. Even if there is a 400 attack difference, Ludo can definitely get that Neos alias back in the next turn in his standby phase if this ocean is not dealt with. So I think this is something for 10-foot to definitely keep a mindful eye of, that really needs to get rid of this, and obviously going to try to attack over it. Can't imagine, yeah, here's the Mirror Force. Can't imagine that wouldn't have happened. So is there a backup plan with a Raikou set or something similar? Oh, 10-foot going with the Tribute Arcus and going for Celestia. In this case, if the summon is not negated, 10-foot can mill 4 cards into the graveyard. Might be crucial for milling some names into the graveyard. And if 10-foot decides to destroy only 1 card, in this case the Ocean, then no Starlight Road is able to be used. But will 10-foot go for 2 cards? Will he be greedy and maybe run into that Starlight Road? Let's see. chooses the ocean. Nothing else yet. Just ocean. Yeah, so very heads up play. The mills weren't too great. Already a Celestia in place. That's not really what you want to mill. Not a Judgment Dragon Mirror Force of Beckoning either. We saw earlier, maybe in a game 2 or game 3, so it might be sided out the monster reincarnation, but definitely we've seen that there's only one Beckoning in one of the games. So that might be a lowering of the amount of Judgment Dragons going down. And MST and the compulsory, so yeah, Ludo can definitely just slam this future fusion, and 10-foot needs to hope that he can push some damage, because there's an absolute zero coming down in 2 turns. Miracle Fusion will be live, it obviously already was, but dumping a little bit more heroes into the graveyard and the water. That Deep Sea Diva, yeah, so very much something for 10-foot to keep an eye on, because that 2500 is going to take a real big chunk out of his life points if that's able to connect in 2 turns. So yeah, really needs to push the advantage. Now there's an open field on Ludo's side, but obviously you never know if there's anything like a Hero Blast or other interaction on the side of Ludo to interact with any monster that 10-foot's able to pump out. And 10-foot goes with a Gold Sark. Might be trying to get the JD out of the deck. Just to be able to get that to the hand. But no, Solar Recharge. Is there a Judgment Dragon in the hand already then? Because Judgment Dragon, if it's not able to get to the hand in a later stage of the game, that could be it. Not really being able to push that damage. If there's just back and forth trading between cards, that could be a real big issue. But on the other hand, Solar Recharge does get you multiple names into the graveyard with at least discarding and perhaps 1 or 2 milling. So that might be the thought process for 10-foot here. And Ludo counting the Sark turns just so that 10-foot won't forget. Wanted to keep it on the board. This is a more clear game state, obviously. 10-foot just decides to set 1 card. Absolute zero gonna come out here in the standby phase. That's going to be big if that's able to connect with the life points of 10-foot. Let's see if there's any more monsters in the hand to be able to deal some necessary damage to close out this game for Ludo, or if it's just going to be the 2500 and trying to grind it out. So Ludo definitely considering his options here. Doesn't really slam anything, doesn't really move to the battle phase right away. Carefully considering his options. Does move to summon this Honest, not exactly lethal. This will be 3600 damage, will leave him at 200 life points, but very, very important. If the JD gets summoned, if both of these cards connect, there will not be an ability to nuke this board. And yeah, 10-foot goes down to 200 life points. What is this back row? Is there another Beckoning Light in the deck? Has he sided it out in other matches we watched? We will find out at some point, obviously, what this card's going to be, but yeah. 10-foot thanking his opponent for Sark resolving effect. Almost forgot himself. Activating the recharge now. Is there a Solemn Judgment on the backside for Ludo, negating the Solar Recharge? There is not. So yeah, 2 draws, 2 mills, and 2 Raikos go to the graveyard. And there we have 4 Lightsworn names in the graveyard now. So if 10-foot has the Judgment Dragon, can summon it out, the issue just is that he can't pay the life point total that's needed to nuke the entire board. Has another Solar Recharge, discarding another wolf, so his hand was very, very bricked with all these wolves. Definitely not what you want to see drawn here. Mills a charge and a 3rd Solar Recharge, so we won't see a follow-up for this. But what can 10-foot do to combat this absolute zero and honest in the hand that he knows about. Did draw a bunch of cards. Perhaps there's some back row that has been drawn to be able to interact with these damage pushes, making sure that he'll survive another turn. Obviously, might not want to put anything in the way of the absolute zero, though. If there's something like a mirror force or a deep prison, get rid of it, because it will also destroy his entire field. Then again, being at 200 life points, it's going to be really difficult to stall out the game in any other way. So Ludo asking if 10-foot wants to be paying himself to that, and 10-foot very heads up obviously knows you can't pay yourself to death with the 200 life points. Yes, you would receive a penalty if you're trying to activate this effect. But Ludo obviously states that priority isn't related to just this monster's effect. It is a priority to use something, but is there anything that could be used? Well, not in the graveyard. Can't do something like malicious, but yeah. 10-foot passing is priority. All right. So bottomless Strapple on his Judgment Dragon, going to be banished. That's a blow for 10-foot. If there's no way to get this card back with either a second Beckoning or a Monster Reincarnation, which we didn't see in other games that 10-foot played, might have been sided out, but might just not be in the deck, then there's no more way to summon out this big beat stick of a Judgment Dragon. And Ludo's just cruising into game 2 in that case. So Absolute Zero attacks into the set. Is this a Raikou or a Hamster? Might be able to stall out the turn a little bit longer in both cases. We'll be able to just destroy the Neos Alias if this is a Raikou, or summon a Raikou. The Neos Alias would then be either attacking into it, or if he wants to use Gem Spark, then it's still not able to attack this turn, obviously. So 10-foot thinking on the target. Does he want to go with the Neos Alias, or does he have a back row to interact with the next attack? Actually chooses to go with the Neos Alias. That plays around Gem Spark as well, obviously. Mills 3 cards. Oh, that's a wolf. So summoning out a wolf here, but there's already 2 Slashy in the graveyard. Can't really see this deck running 3. Dragonith is also in the graveyard. It's another tribute summon monster. So I don't think he has anything to tribute summon over this wolf. And 10-foot going in the tank here, on the end phase of Ludo, might have a Beckoning set in that case, because it takes quite a bit of time for that think. So thinking a lot more when having the third card in hand. What's going through his mind right now? What's he thinking about doing? Still has to consider, obviously, the 2 back row that Ludo has. Can he mount an attack in a way where he'll retain a board? Does he want to attack over this Absolute Zero with like the wolf and perhaps the other Honest? I don't think it was milled into the graveyard right now. There's still a possibility of the second Honest. Moves to standby main. Probably figured out his play by now. Viewing that graveyard just to see perhaps if the Beckoning Light or Monster Reincarnation can add something back without the possibility of the Judgment Dragon not being able to be summoned. But he is going to go to the battle phase. So is he going to try to attack over the 0? Yes, he is. So is there an interaction from Ludo? No. He quickly says okay to the attack declaration. So is 10-foot going to go through the phases one by one, or is he straight going to the damage step or damage calc? Pass Prio and Battle Step. Alright, so Ludo now has to decide if he wants to do something in the Battle Step. Goes to the damage step right away. So what is Stanford going to do? He'll need the Honest, or he can decide not to move the damage step yet and still Book of Moon and attack over, but that's not needed. There is an Honest. So this Absolute Zero goes away. Takes 2100 damage from that wolf. Is obviously destroyed since Absolute Zero goes to the graveyard. But now the board is clear. There's no more monsters. We do know that Ludo did not use his Honest. So we do know that there's an Honest in hand for Ludo. That's something on Tenfoot's mind probably as well. If there's another light monster in the hand, that could just attack over any attack position monster and just could win the game for Ludo. So let's see what Tenfoot ends up doing here. If he has another set monster like a hamster or a Raikou, he can just go ahead and set that and be pretty certain that there's no real big follow-up for Ludo, because if there's a set monster, he might be hesitant to go into Honest and attack. But there's a Glorious Illusion, which is sort of a Call of the Hunted for Lightsworn. It is pretty risky though, because every end phase of his own turn, he'll send the top 2 cards of his deck to the graveyard. There's only 12 more. If he summons any Lightsworn monster that mills, something like the Dragonith, that can deck him out pretty quickly. But this Dragonith is super big. Let's see how many Lightsworn names are in the graveyard. It seems like Ludo is unaware of the amount of attack the Dragonith has, because it's definitely not just the 2000. Tenfoot's going to probably name the amount of Lightsworn names in the graveyard now. He's at 35, so that should be 5 names then. So it's Wolf, Raikou, Lumina, Celestia, and Arcus. Yeah, that seems about right. So very heads up to just change the attack stat of Dragonith, go to 3500 to make sure that everybody knows what this card's attack is. And now Tenfoot needs to realize that he needs a back row if there's a light monster that is going to attack, because that Honest in the hand is very, very threatening for Tenfoot if there's any light monster on Ludo's end. Sets a monster. This card needs to mill. Both cards need to mill, so in total 5. Mill 3 for that. Also mill 2 for the Glorious Illusion. Mills the Necroguard. Now, that is something that could save him if the light monster attacks. So yeah, there's 2 more mills. Goes down to 7 cards. This can be a very short game, because there's basically just 2 more turns left for Tenfoot. Draws would be at 6 cards in deck. If the Dragoneth then still survives with the Glorious Illusion, would mill 5 more, and that would remain 1 card to draw on the turn after. If there's no more mills, obviously, because if that's a set Raikou, that can speed up the clock for Tenfoot in this game. So does Ludo have anything to defend himself from this Dragonith? Didn't appear to have any interaction on the attack of that 3500 damage. Checking the graveyard, probably sees that Necrogardna as a very, very difficult card to get through this Dragonith. If he has the light monster, he's probably going to be very pissed that this Necrogardna was now finally milled. Heavy Storm will, if it resolves, take care of the Dragonith, or is he going to chain his own Starlight Road? He does chain a Hero Blast, gets back the Neos Alias, so no Starlight Road, because it needs to be in direct response. He can get back the Neos Alias, but as said, there's no way to get over that Dragonith. Obviously, it gets destroyed with the Glorious Illusion. So what card is set for Tenfoot here? If that is a destruction of the Neos alias, then any monster with 1100 attack can freely attack for game, because we know there's an Honest in the hand for Ludo. So that card won't be coming down in any way, shape, or form in this turn. Hi Liana, welcome to the stream. And 10-foot checking his own graveyard on the attack declaration. Very curious to see what that is. Is that perhaps something like a Plague Spreader zombie? Does he want to use the Necrogardna in that case? Could definitely be, because we already see 3 Raikos in the graveyard. Might also be a hamster, but we do not see the Plague Spreader zombie yet. So 10-foot's considering what he needs to do. But yeah, needs something to get rid of this Neos alias on the next turn, because there is an Honest in hand. Can possibly think about what cards are in the deck, what are the odds to draw a level 3 if this is a set Plague Spreader zombie. Could be able to Synchro Summon into the Catastor, and that would put the Honest out of play. Won't be able to use it because the Neos alias would then just be destroyed before the damage step, before the damage calculation is done. And Ludo trying to speed up 10-foot's thinking here, while he's probably going through his entire deck, just making sure what his outs are. Gibu, the tournament was hosted on edisonformat.com server. We did announce it a few times in the announcements. This is the first one of the series though. It's the same server as the DDVs are hosted in. But I'm definitely going to be trying to do multiple. It's very well received. I'm very happy with the way the tournament's been going. So I'm definitely going to host more. So be sure to grab the next one. Yeah, and Ludo really cracking down on 10-foot here. But if he really wants to make sure that 10-foot makes a play, calling the judge and keeping that in check for ample time to have 10-foot make his decision, something that he can also do. So he finally lets it go to the graveyard. So what can 10-foot do now? No Honest is in hand, so in any way he can't really attack over this. There's no more Honest for himself. He has both in the graveyard, so can't go for a turn player priority Honest. Just decides to set a monster and a back row and pass it over to Ludo. So what did Ludo draw? Does he want to commit the Honest onto the field? Does he think there's a bluff set? Is he going to try to commit that card to push the last damage? Let's see, is there anything like... Yes, there's a Mirror Force in the graveyard, so might just be able to interact with one monster. Something like a Dimensional Prison if it's on the list. But has a Reinforcement of the Army. That's even better, obviously. And I don't think he's played his Stratos, so might decide to just search his Stratos, use the effect to pop the back row, try to attack with both monsters over the set monster. Could obviously be a Bottomless Trample still. Yes, definitely possible to be a Call of the Hunted as well. Although not a lot of targets for Call of the Hunted over the Glorious Illusion, so it might also be one of those extra, because this deck mostly consists of Lightsworn monsters. It doesn't really have the Christia in the graveyards that are similar, but decides to go with a DD Warrior Lady instead. Alright, so 10-foot has to decide if he has anything he wants to do against this. If it's a Call of the Hunted, with the Honest, it's not going to do much. So this monster needs to either stick or be defended. Yes, Necrogardna is going to defend over this attack. DD War Lady not going to attack over it. So yeah, 10-foot lives another turn. And 10-foot gets to decide to make a play here. Not much left in the deck, so Might be another hamster set here. And the Plague Shredder Zombie is also still in the deck. So there might be a Synchro Summon coming in here. So let's see if there's a possibility of a Synchro Summon. If that is a set hamster and the Plague Shredder Zombie, obviously the Goya Guardian would usually attack just over one of these monsters for game. But it's not possible because of this Honest. Decides to set just another monster. And yeah, that's going to just be a turn pass, I guess. Because there's not really anything that set can do to interact with this board. And Ludo on the offensive, again, trying to push that last 200 damage. Summons out the Honest. I think he top decked it. He might have 2 in hand right now. I didn't see him shuffle the hand. Or did you guys see him shuffle the hand or see it come from the side where there was already a card? Let me know. 10-foot says move the damage. Then the card needs to be face up. Yeah, so that is destroyed by the Neos Alias. Now the Deity Warrior Lady attacks over the new set. Let's see what that's going to be. Is that the Plague Shredder Zombie? Would he have had game? No, it's a Card Trooper. Alright, so that's going to trigger if the Deity Warrior Lady doesn't banish it. He'll be able to draw a card. And Ludo doesn't appear to be using the effect, but now that 10-foot's asking, he is considering it. So is that 1100 going to connect? No, so Call of the Hunted being used. So let's see if the other Honest is in hand. Call of the Hunted can summon back basically anything but a Judgment Dragon. Has the Gorse in the graveyard, has a Celestia, has a Wolf, has the ability to summon back that Dragonith. That'd be a big beater, but still, in that case, if the second Honest is in hand for Ludo, that's just game over basically. And I don't see any monster he could use to play around that second Honest possibility in hand. So 10-foot viewing his extra deck. Might really be thinking about top decking that Plague Spreader Zombie in the next 5 cards. 20% chance obviously. Might then make a decision on what he's going to summon out for that reason. He's revealing the Honest, so Ludo is telegraphing that it's not going to matter. So yeah, the tar is chosen. This will be attacked over and that will be lethal and that will be game 1. So Cyber Dragon on the top. That wasn't the Plague Spreader Zombie. Ludo convincingly taking this game, but it could have gone the other way if 10-foot had any more pressure. So yeah, let's see what do you guys think Ludo and 10-foot have in the side deck to beat each other in the second round? Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well. But what level 3 can come out that the Honest can't attack over though? Because that Honest, if it connected, it would deal the necessary damage for lethal as well. No, we did see 3 Raikos in the graveyard, animatic. That's true. Yeah, Arcus does have 1200 attack. That's correct. So that might have been the target. 20% chance to top deck the Plague Spreader Zombie. Wouldn't have mattered because it was the Cyber Dragon. He did decide to mill it just to see if it mattered if there wasn't a second Honest in the graveyard. Or sorry, in the hand. Now we're playing this top cut without time rules, but the situation is that we do want to make sure the tournament is done in timely fashion. So if people are going to go into the tank too much, we will crack down on slow play. But I think that the thinking that 10-foot did during this game. Didn't seem too extensive. I think you do need a bit of time to calculate your outs in a situation where you have like your entire deck in the graveyard and perhaps 5 to 6 cards to check that are still possible to draw, what your best outs are in the situation, and how you're going to be able to win the game most of the time. So that is something to just take into consideration. Obviously, for Ludo, it would be best if 10-foot makes a mistake there and just slams the Dragonith, even if there's not an Honest in hand, because that just won't do too much if he's going to top deck that Plague Spreader Zombie. And yeah, Gibu, I think that I'm going to post the top 8 lists in a YouTube video during this next week on this YouTube channel. So definitely subscribe if you want to see the top 8 lists. It's rather spicy, actually. We know that there's a Machina list in the top 8. We have this Lightsworn deck by 10-foot. There was even a second Machina barely not making it into top cut. So we definitely saw some spicy decks, not just the standard Blackwing Frogs and the Via Turbo, although obviously it's still in there. And yeah, thinking about the side deck choices a little bit more, I don't think Lightsworn would side in a Royal Oppression. It's definitely possible with way less special summons than the Christia Sworn does. But Ludo can definitely do something like a Light Imprisoning Mirror, negating all those mill effects for the Lightsworn monsters, also negating their destruction effects of something like a Lila, something like a Raikou, something like a Celestia and a Judgment Dragon. That can definitely stop the deck in its tracks. Has to play fair. That would be very difficult for 10-foot, but can obviously go with side deck Royal Decree, go with side deck Dust Tornadoes, get rid of those cards in the back row for Ludo to be able to push the damage. I think there were 3 dragon decks I think we had. There was even one that I think they call Hopeless Dragon with like the Dark Creator package. Dark Horus we saw at least. I didn't see a Nordorus, but it might have been in the deck. We just watched the feature match. I haven't really read through all the lists, to be fair. But yeah, there were some dragon decks, but I'm pretty sure there's none of them in top cut. So yeah, we're moving into game 2 here. 10-foot going first. Thinking right off the bat. So yeah, already has a few options, I guess. Decides just to set one and pass turn. Might be something like a Raikou or a Hamster. Let's see if Ludo sided in something like a Nobleman. Just slams the Deep Sea Diva. Is he going into Synchro Summon? No, he's just going to attack. Better if that's the Raikou to not go for something like a Magical Android. We'll keep a card around. So yeah, just going to flip. And there is the Hamster. So that's a punish for this situation. In that case, summoning Android would have ran over it and would have netted him 600 life points. That's a 700 life point difference. But yeah, in this case, just one card is going to be destroyed. And yeah, the Spine Guildman is going to be destroyed with the Raikou. No response, obviously. Can't really do much into the damage step. So Raikou obviously gets destroyed. Now the Plague Spreader Zombie is in the graveyard, so he will be able to use it if it's needed. Also Mill Solar Recharge and Mirror Force. Those are cards you don't really want to see go into the graveyard. Trap Dust Shoot, that's pretty big though. Being able to see the entire hand and anticipate all the moves that 10-foot's able to make, it's gonna be good for for Ludo here. And Ludo just taking his time a little bit, considering all the options that 10-foot has in his hand. Probably a lot of monsters to choose from, because this sort of deck isn't very spell and trap heavy. He definitely runs some, obviously, but might be more monsters than spells or traps. Decides to go for the Lumina, has a Breaker on a Celestia Wolf and Solar Recharge in the hand. Will be able to Solar Recharge away that Wolf, obviously. Breaker also possible to first destroy that back row. And he does decide to do that first before he's going to Solar Recharge. The Breaker goes away, but with the Bottomless Trapple now has a lot more information about the plays that Ludo is able to make, and does decide to Solar Recharge after. He didn't yet, but I was pretty sure he was going to, because it's not really something you usually hold in your hand. You like to have your options, refresh your hand, and see what you can do after. And the Solar Recharge did mill Cyber Dragon and Judgment Dragon. Those aren't the cards you want to mill. Only has 2 Lightsworn names in the graveyard right now. But yeah, if there's any Lightsworn name that's going to stick onto the board at any point in this game, the Celestia will be able to destroy something again. And mill 4 cards. So 10-foot decides to go onto the aggressive. Summons out the Plague Spreaders on me, still thinking on what he's going to top deck. But Ludo can decide to DD Crow this in response. Does he have that in his hand? Did he side it in? It's not always too usual against Lightsworn, but on the other hand, you can snipe a Judgment Dragon that is trying to be added to the hand with the Beckoning Light, or a Monster Reincarnation. So that is a good way to get rid of those threats. But yeah, 10-foot's going to move the hamster into attack mode. Is going to probably poke with all these small monsters. I don't know what Ludo's question marking. The Breaker was summoned earlier this turn. So 10-foot goes and Synchro summons Goyo Guardian. Is going to take that Deep Sea Diva and might just decide to go for a Stardust Dragon. That can actually do a lot in his matchup, because the Gemini Spark will be turned off, can negate that, can also negate something like a Hero Blast, because it's non-optional destruction. And obviously a Bottomless Trapple, Torrential Tribute, Mirror Force. It's just cards like Dimensional Prison that he can't negate with that, but it might be a really good move to Synchro Summon to a Stardust Dragon. Decides not to, keeps the 2800 attack monster on the board, but this might leave the Deep Sea Diva vulnerable to an attack on the backswing from Ludo. And if he has more back row to set behind it, he can just interact with that Goyo Guardian attacking. I'm not 100% sure it was the correct move. Although the Goyo Guardian has more attack, you have 2 monsters. If this was the correct play to keep the Goyo Guardian in play in this situation. And here's a DD Warrior Lady. That would have taken out the Stardust Dragon in any case, obviously, if there's no interaction from 10-foot in the back row. Decides to let it go. Deep Sea Diva goes to the graveyard. No Stardust Dragon for 10-foot. And just moves to the end phase. No back row for Ludo. So if there's a Royal Decree set for 10-foot, that's pretty dead at this point. But he does have a Goyo Guardian to deal 1300 more damage over this DD Warrior Lady, putting Ludo to the halfway mark, and can obviously summon a lot more pressure out from his hand if he has the possibility to do so. We know he has the Honest, but perhaps he might have something else as well. drawn now. We know there's Celestia and Honest in hand, so it has to have been drawn for the turn, I guess. Yeah, and 10-foot decides to attack over his DD Warrior Lady. Will cleanly out this Goyo Guardian, or if there's an Honest, that will just take care of it without banishing it, dealing 1500 back to 10-foot. Still has to deal with that DD Warrior Lady on a later turn. So what's 10-foot deciding to do? Did the card he topped out for Plague Spreader Zombie last turn mean anything? Does he want to put it into play, or is that the Celestia or Honest that he kept in the hand, and there's something else he can do? Does decide to set one monster face down though. Is that the Honest that he had in the hand that he wants to protect his life points with? It would be an opportune situation for Ludo to just banish that if that's the case though. So I'm not too confident that's the situation. And Ludo has that reinforcement again, can add a warrior monster to his hand. Last time he used it on the DD Warrior Lady, this time goes for the Stratos. Yeah, we'll be able to add another hero monster to the hand. If there's something like a Gem Spark or a Hero Blast in the hand, this search can make it more live than it was. Also has the Miracle Fusion. That's going to be quite a bit of damage to get through. But if this is a Raikou and it's able to go off, then it can just destroy that. So Ludo really needs to consider if he's going to leave this this set monster and run into it, risking losing this absolute zero for not much value actually. Decides to attack with the absolute zero. If it's destroyed by a Raikou, can still push that 1500 damage. But it is the Honest. He did set the Honest, so yeah, 10-foot scrambling to keep his footing in this game. Down to 5,000 life points, 4,000 represented on the board for Ludo. So 10-foot really needs to do something, or he's going to lose this match. And 10-foot checking his graveyard. I think we saw that there aren't enough names into the graveyard. He summons Jane, only has 2 names into the graveyard. If this is going to attack over the Warrior Lady, I'm certain it's going to get banished. And that will just stick 2 names in the graveyard for 10-foot. But has to, yeah, bricking like crazy, exactly. Does attack over the DD Warrior Lady. This is going to get banished. It's going to be 600 damage for Ludo if there's no more Honest in the hand. But if there's an Honest, this is just probably going to be lethal. There's not, so Ludo does decide to banish the Jane. Leaves him with only 2 Lightsworn names into the graveyard. And this absolute zero is still a 2-turn clock. Yeah, Alias coming out. Ludo deciding to push a little bit more damage. Lower that that clock a little bit if the 2500 isn't able to connect in the next turn. Just lower it to 600. Anything like a Brain Control can't be used here at this point anymore. 10-foot did the Pro Set Heavy Storm, but it only hits 1 Phoenix Wing Wind Blast. Now let's see if he has anything to get rid of these cards. But sending 1 back row doesn't appear to be that strong. There's the Mirror Force already in the graveyard, so that can't be used. What can it be that he can survive on? It isn't anything, so that is the game, that is the match. Ludo wins this match, moves on to top 4, and 10-foot's going to go down into the lower bracket. If anyone doesn't know, this is double elimination in Top Cut. That means that 10-foot gets to play yet another match versus another player who also lost her top 8 match. And yeah, 10-foot has the potential to get back into this match. Into this Top Cut. Not into this match, obviously. But he's going to have to wait for the other game to be over. So let's see if there's anything else that we can watch currently. I'm going to pull up the bracket. I think it's posted in... Yeah, it's posted in the Discord. So I'm just going to grab it here and move it over onto the screen so that we can all watch what's going on with the top cut. So we already see here, so Ludo won against 10 Foot, and Samu Bustano won against Doug Tracy. So it's Ludo versus Samu. Burndig lost to Sir, and Kirsch won against Rip. So this top cut is already into top 4. These players can decide to start playing. And we can also see that the losers round 1 is obviously completely seated as well at this point. So let's watch one of these matches. I think since we watched Ludo before, let's go watch Gospodin versus Sir. I think that's more interesting to watch different people play. Because it's going to be a bit boring watching the same player constantly, I guess. So yeah, we have Sir here. Sir Dorian has that Treeburn Frog in the graveyard. Probably used the Swap Frog to summon it and dump it there. Yeah, we have Gospodin with the Dark Grapher summoning and pitching the Sirocco right away. Puts the Vayu into the graveyard. Is he going to use its effect right away to pump out 4,000 damage? That seems to be the case. Perhaps even has another way to summon anything. And then we can see if there's something like a Battle Fader, Gores, or Tragodia on the backswing for Dorian to keep up those life points and not go to half-life right away on the first turn. Battle Fader is there, so we'll be able to trade well into those dark monsters if Gospodin has no response, obviously, and if he has a Monarch to interact with these. Nobleman of Extermination. Now that's a spicy card. Most people don't use it, so decides to target this set trap. Or spell, obviously. Let's see what it is, and if there's going to be something that's... Oh, it's just a Mystical Space Typhoon, so that was more of a bluff. Yeah, that's not going to do much. Yeah, if it was a trap, then each player reveals their main deck. Oh, he banishes the Treeborn Frog? Why is the Treeborn Frog banished? I think that's a misclick. But yeah, this Armed Wing is getting banished and deals 1,000... burn damage and then goes attack over the Dark Grapher. That's not going through. Yeah. But I'm still wondering why this Treeborn Frog is in the banished pile. I don't think that's correct. Let's tell Dorian. Why is Treeborn banished? Well, let's hope we can revert the game state. Yeah, there we go. The Treeborn's in the graveyard. Gospodin also caught it. It's not supposed to be banished. I think it's better for Gospodin to remain banished, obviously. But yeah, it was a misclick. No problem. We can continue the match now. So this Battle Fader is going to be banished by Grapher attacking over. Doesn't have extra push to deal a lot more damage. Still, both players relatively even in amount of life points. Only 1,000 life points lost for Gospodin, but the amount of cards that Dorian has is higher than the amount of cards that Gospodin has. Each of these exterminations have hit one-offs, so it's not going to banish extra cards. But that Vanity's Fiend's really, really spicy in the main deck. And yeah, that's... it seems like there's a bunch of side deck cards in this main deck. That's very interesting. Blackwing Guild is able to attack over this Vanity's Fiend, though, with the use of its effect. Moves it down to 1,200 attack points, and then... gets rid of it. So that's a good way to out it for Gospodin. But let's see if there's another Monarch follow-up for Dorian. A lot of spell and trap destruction though. That heavy storm hitting the Starlight Road. And if there were more, there would be a Stardust Dragon out here. Ooh, and Light and Darkness Dragon coming out. That is another spicy card. We haven't seen a lot from Sir Dorian yet, but he has a lot of very unusual picks, and this is going to push a lot of damage. Because if there's any activation from Господин inside, it's just going to get negated. Both players on 3 cards at this stage though, so if Господин has anything he can chain to the negation of Light and Darkness Dragon, he will be able to clear this card, but we'll have to spend 2 cards to do it. Is he going to do it? Normal summon Swap Frog. Is he going to try to use the effect? No, he's not. This would be game though if both of these cards connect. So he goes down to 700 life points. Swap Frog attacks, and this is just the game. That's a very, very fast game. Light and Darkness Dragon taking it for Sir Dorian. Now Господин has to find a way to deal with this Light and Darkness Dragon in game 2. Let's see if he's able to. So side deck wise, what are some usual cards that Господин can side in for the Light and Darkness Dragon? I think for the Caius and perhaps Rise Our Dark Dust Spirit, you usually go with Pulling the Rug. Same thing for Swap Frog's normal summon. Just make sure they can't set up their graveyard. But Light and Darkness Dragon is a very difficult card to get rid of. Not a lot of cards deal with it cleanly. Usually need 2 cards to out that. Господин might not have faced this all that much in the recent months. Not sure if he's aware of the interaction that you can use a card on the attack, something like a Book of Moon or Mirror Force, and then use a Dimensional Prison after the negation to still get rid of that card. He is a really good player though, so he might just know about this ruling. But yeah, Господин needs to do well in this game to stay in this match. Taking some time to think about what the first turn is going to be. Might think about setting a Raikou or a Hamster, but a lot of Frog decks slam their Soul Exchange on that first set. So that might make the Vanity's Fiend or something like that come out. And getting rid of one of those very crucial destruction effects that Raikou and cards like that have. And Sir Dorian very impatient, asking if Господин is here. Clearly says he's still thinking. So yeah, probably weighing his options, what the best move would be, and what would be less punished as his first turn action by something like a Soul Exchange or something like that. Activates reinforcements of the army, so this can get him a Dark Graph for Armageddon Knight, or if he plays it, a Necrogardna. Necrogardna, another card that can be used in that sequencing of a chain. Decides to go with the Dark Grapher. This is not exactly a mirror of what we saw before, because that was a Violet Sirocco going into the graveyard. This time it's a Plague Spreader Zombie though. Does send the Violet to the graveyard. Might have the Sirocco already in hand, or might not. That's also a possibility, obviously. But setting up his graveyard, very good for him. Decides not to summon more cards out. But yeah, that was something we didn't touch on before. But Господин could have sided in Deck Devastation Virus, and that would destroy a lot of cards in Dorian's hand. All these small monsters that Frog decks usually play all get destroyed if he has it. But with no 2000 attack monster on his board, not able to use that yet. And now Dorian taking his time to make a move. Goes with the Swap Frog effect. decides to just dump that Treeborn Frog into the graveyard. Usually Swap Frog bounces back to the hand. Most players decide to keep it. We'll be able to special summon it later to get a Monarch back to the hand or something like that. Does have a back row to set. We haven't seen any of those yet from him. Usually these frog players use something like a Threatening Roar, Raigeki Break, Phoenix Wing Blast, or a Mirror Force. Trapdoor Shoot is seen, we've seen it before, but it's not used as often. And yeah, it's definitely possible, since we've seen Dorian with all these spicy cards in game one, like Nobleman of Extermination, Vanity's Fiend in the main, Light and Darkness Dragon, that he might be on something else entirely. And Gospodin decides to go for a Caius. See if this back row is chainable. He's going to target it. And it is a trap stun. Alright, so that trap stun is kind of wasted though. For correct sequencing, it is still banished. But it doesn't really matter in this case. And Gospodin writing out all the cards that he's Trap Dust shooting that are in the hand for Sir Dorian. 5 cards in the hand, probably a lot of monsters. Actually, Burial, so he's anticipating DD Crow or Soul Release. So Burial, Swap, Dupe, Caius. If he's able to bring back that Treeborn Frog, can Caius this Caius? And that would spell disaster for Gospodin if the other set is not a Pulling the Rug. But we know that Sir Dorian has no ability to clear this back row. So that is if there's if there's no way to draw it, obviously, because it's a bit confusing. The Trap Dust Shoot was used in the turn of Gospodin. So usually it's used in the other player's turn. But I guess he wanted to see if there's any more battle interactions, like a Vader, like a Gorse, like a Tragodia, and safely attack in with the Caius. But how's the extra set? We know there's no Heavy Storm MST or Nobleman of Extermination in the hand for Sir Dorian, unless he drew it for turn. So let's see if it's going to... oh, and there is the Heavy Storm. He did top deck it. He did not have it in hand. Gospodin didn't write it down. And Deck Devastation Virus is chained, so that Swap Frog and Dupe Frog are going to be destroyed that are in the hand. And that Treeborn Frog that is on the field right now will be destroyed. And yeah, there will probably not be anything else happening, because Burial from the different dimension and Caius can't really do much on their own in this situation. And yeah, Gospodin will be able to see the next cards that are coming from the top deck for Sir Dorian, so we'll be able to predict his plays a little bit more easily. And that Dex Devastation Virus that I talked about earlier does come into play. He did set it this turn, so he didn't preemptively set it though. And that's a very heads up play. Not being able to exterminate it, MST or Heavy Stormed before it's being able to be activated. Gospodin doesn't make a play though. Does he have something dead in hand? Something like, for instance, a Dark Armored Dragon has 4 darks in the graveyard, can't really summon it out. Also a Sirocco. Sirocco wouldn't be able to be summoned either. So now that there's a Treeborn Frog on the field, we will be able to see something like a Sirocco if he wants to summon it out. But the difficulty with that is that he knows there's a Caius on the backswing. That will deal 3400 damage. Because this Treeborn Frog is just coming back, even if he banishes it, the burial is going to bring it back into the graveyard. So what's Gospodin going to decide to do? Does he have something of a play to do? Doesn't appear to be the case. Ends his turn. Going to reveal the Twister in hand for Sir Dorian. Expecting to see something like a Mask of Restrict, probably. Not really a very common side deck card. So yeah, that deck Devastation Virus goes to the graveyard. Won't be able to see more draws from Sir Dorian, but yeah, he knows the entire hand that's currently here. Has been writing down all the cards that are in hand, and will be able to play around everything if he has the ability to do so, obviously. Gospodin taking a little bit of time to make his decision. Hasn't really been pushing any damage, giving the Frog player a lot of time to set up or draw into better cards. That's also a very, very difficult situation. You're still on 8,000, but at some point something can come down from the Frog player, something like a Vanity's Fiend that you have difficulty interacting with, and at that point you're just getting beat down by the Frog player. So Gospodin needs to be aware of the fact that he is the aggressor in this matchup. Not going to be the deck that outgrinds the other better, because these Frog decks just have so much gas. They have so much ability to trade well, trade 2-for-1s very, very often, and yeah, could really grind Gospodin out of resources. So decides to just pass it back. We have seen this board for a couple of turns, and that is worse for Gospodin, like I said, than for Sir Dorian. Is he going to do anything now? Back up to 5 cards in hand, viewing his own graveyard. Will he make a move this turn? Actually going for a big think here. Yeah, definitely taking more time. Does understand that it's very crucial for him to make the first move. Yeah, really push some damage out there. Already has his opponent on 5,600, and yeah, really needs to hurry up to push those life points down. You don't often see that if the Frog player gets the time to build up their own defenses, build up their own board, that they're going to lose. So Gospodin is definitely in a time crunch here. And summons the Junk Synchron. That's another spicy tech that we've seen from Gospodin before, but it's not a very, very standard play. Decides to special summon out the Vayu, but is there a DD Crow from Sir Dorian in the hand? Because he is thinking on this activation. Might have a response, but he doesn't appear to have one. Alright, so the Vayu is going to come out onto the field in defense mode. The effect is negated, so Vayu will be able to synchro summon with any monster on the board. That is not also a tuner, obviously, so there won't be an ability to synchro summon here, because both of these cards are tuners. But that is that's a very special special spicy situation in this scenario. And oh, the Dark Arm Dragon able to come out here for Gospodin. And that Dark Arm Dragon is actually a level 7. Will be able to synchro with it if he so chooses. Decides to destroy that Treeborn Frog. What's he going to be doing here? Is he just going to attack in with this? Special summons out the Gale. That can be special because the Vayu is on the field. It's another Black-Ring monster. Yeah, Gospodin is very much gunning for it. This is 2,600 damage with Junk Synchron. Gale on the board. Dark Armor Dragon's another 2,800. That is just 5,400 damage. Summons out the Plague Spreader Zombie. All these tuners on the board If there is no battle stopper in the hand for Sir Dorian, that is the game, and it is the game. Gospodin, with very much patience and just pumping out this damage, able to defeat Sir Dorian in one go. And now we have to think that if there was something like a DD Crow in the hand for Sir Dorian, he might have been able to use it on either the Plague Spreader Zombie or that Vayu to mitigate some damage. But if he doesn't use it on either, it's very likely that there just wasn't one in the hand, and he tried to telegraph to his opponent that he had an interaction. So third game, final game for this matchup. Let's see who's going down to the finals. This is the top 4 match of the upper bracket, or who's going to go down to the top 4 of the lower bracket. One of these players still has the ability to move on, but the other player will go to the upper bracket finals, and we're definitely going to watch that match before we're going to spectate the lower bracket later on. And Gospodin fires off his power card, Daedalur of Darkness, able to draw 2 more cards from the deck, banish a dark monster, really able to grab more cards for his hand, really make a better hand for himself there, but might not have found everything he needed, just sets 1 back row. That's also obviously good into something like a Heavy Storm. If it's something like a Bottomless Trapple, we'll be able to get rid of a Caius or a Ryza or a Vanity's Fiend if that's able to come down, but it is a Substitute. In this situation, there might be a Royal Oppression. If that is the case, then the Substitute will just be destroyed, but it doesn't appear to be the case. So Dorian already going into his deck, both Treeburn Frogs coming out. He might have another Burial in the hand. We saw it written down by Gospodin last game that he did have the Burial in the hand, does side it in. It's not very frequently sided anymore by most Frog players, but Sir Dorian is still on it. And yeah, the Swap Frog, if you don't know, Substitute obviously can summon itself, but I think Sir Dorian's just going through the motions. That Swap Frog goes to the graveyard, sends the Substitute as searching for another frog to get out of the deck, and just tries to move through these cards a little bit more quickly. A little bit of lag on my end. He did do another Swap Frog and Substitute, and there's 2 Dupe Frogs onto the field now. That probably means that there's either another Swap Frog or a Substitute or both in the hand still. I don't see what he did dump, because there's only 1 Substitute dump, so yeah, he might have the other one in the hand. So let's just say, for convenience sake, that there's probably a Swap Frog and a Substitute still in the hand for Sir Dorian. And we haven't seen a Unifrog yet, though. There might be still one left in the deck that one of these Dupe Frogs wants to search. And hopefully no more lag on the other side, because it's now Gospodin's turn, and he's been taking a slow approach. That did work out for him in the previous game, and he sets another card, so this is another slow approach, and let's see if Sir Dorian is going to decide to make a push. Does special out this Treeborn Frog. No immediate response from Gospodin. So let's see what happens in main phase 1. If there's a tribute summon here for Sir Dorian, or if he's going to do something else. Perhaps just sit on these frogs. Activates the Space Typhoon after summoning the Treeborn Frog. Space is being used on the Dust Shoot. Gospodin, very, very patient with that activation. Is able to get a +1 out of there. Yeah, it is something where frogs are very, very usually able to keep a hand size of 4 or more. So I can definitely understand this. in scenarios where an enemy controller or a soul exchange is used, it's very good to chain that trap dust shoot to shuffle away anything that can be tribute summoned over the monster, and definitely negate that soul exchange in that sort of way. Tornado is probably a Dust Tornado, a Fader, 2 Crow, and a Swap Frog in the hand. Chooses something we don't know what it is, but based on the way he's written it, it's probably the Swap Frog that's been shuffled away. It is actually not, so it's probably a card that's not been named, because there were only 5 cards that were named by Господин, and there were 6 in the hand. So we won't be able to know what was shuffled away, but it's very likely that was a Monarch or something, because at this point, with 5 cards in hand, it's very usual for frog decks to have something like a Monarch after getting out all those frogs onto the board and in the graveyard. And Господин taking a little bit of time to decide what he's going to do this turn. Not really graveyard setup like previously, but does have the Scirocco and the Gale. Can synchro summon into something like a Dark End, Stardust, Thought Ruler, Archfiend, or Colossal Fighter. Dark End is the card that does the most here, because he can break up this dupe log. Destroy one of the dupe frogs and attack over the other, if he so chooses. The swap frog is halved, so that card has only 500 attack left. Yeah, no interaction from Sir Dorian, obviously. Decides to send away that dupe frog. That will be able to activate and add something to the hand. Decides not to, though. Does that miss timing because of the attack and defense point change? I haven't seen this interaction too often, so I'm not too sure why it didn't add anything to the hand. But in any case, one swap frog was added to the hand at this stage. And now that there's a monster on the field for Господин, and yeah, and there is probably a Monarch draw, the Rise is able to get rid of the Dark End Dragon if there's no summon negation from Господин. Господин says no negate, and that means that Sir Dorian can choose his target. Goes for the Dark End Dragon. He is still able to activate Pulling the Rug if that's in the back row. It is not. So this is a 2-for-1. Like I earlier said, this one Ryza outs 2 cards for Sir Dorian, and that is a very, very difficult situation for Господин, because if that keeps happening, he'll just dwindle down in cards while Sir Dorian is sitting pretty with a lot of cards in hand. And Господин summoning out that Armageddon Knight can dump the Vayu into the graveyard to be able to summon out another Armed Wing. Will go to 3 Darks in the grave, so has to decide, Dorian has to decide that if he is going to DD Crow, he should do it at that moment in time, because there's no real benefit to doing it at the activation of the Vayu, and it does prevent Господин from summoning out the Dark Armed like last turn. Sorry, like last game, I should say. And Sir Dorian, very heads up play, does DD Crow instantly on the Vayu. And Господин goes for the attack, just 1400 damage at this point. And let's see if there's another Monarch drawn for Sir Dorian. Didn't have a Monarch when the Trap Dust Shoot was used. We know there's still a Crow in the hand. We know there's still a Swap Frog, a Fader, and a Tornado in the hand. Drew a Nobleman of Extermination. Let's see what that back row is that Gospodin said. Is it something that will banish cards from the deck as well for him? And Gospodin thinking, not instantly responding, might be lag on my end though. We never know for sure until we hear the sped up animation sound from Dueling Book. Yeah, and it was the burial of the different dimension. That means there's 2 Vayu in the graveyard now, and he does use the DD Crow to banish the Sirocco, but that puts Gospodin down to 3 Darks in the graveyard. If there's a Dark Arm Dragon in the hand now, then in this situation, there is the ability for Gospodin to summon out the Dark Arm Dragon, not using the DD Crow to manipulate the graveyard after the fact. If he would do it on the other Vayu when the Armed Wing is summoned out, that would actually lower the amount of possibilities for the Dark Arm Dragon to come out. So there it is, and it was in the hand for Gospodin. Did have the Dark Arm Dragon, so that preemptive DD Crow did not help him that much as he thought it would. And Dark Arm Dragon going to pop the Treeborn Frog, might even banish the Vayu to be able to attack directly, but he does know about the Battle Fader in the hand, so might just decide to attack with both these cards instead. And Sir Dorian taking the 1400 life point damage. Is the 2800 going to connect as well? Will put him down to 2400 exactly, and that he decides to not drop the Battle Fader on this turn. Even though this is a heap ton of damage, I am actually very surprised that he doesn't use the Battle Fader. Is it no longer in the hand? I can't see why not. I mean, we don't see it in the graveyard. I don't think there was a shuffle effect. Or did he shuffle back the Battle Fader and that there was one card just unnamed for him? That's the only solution I can think of. You drop the Battle Fader here on that 4200 damage, I think. And Swap Frog coming out. Moving to the battle phase, going to attack over that. Oh, but it's a Super Mega Hamster. That'll deal 800 damage to Sir Dorian. Going down to 1600, setting that Raikou. Now this Dark Arm Dragon, if there's a way to put that Treeborn Frog into attack mode, can deal the necessary damage. But if there's still a Battle Fader in the hand, then that's definitely not a possibility. Because obviously he will use it for his last 1600 life points. And Hamster being moved into attack mode. We'll be able to attack over this Treeborn Frog with it. Probably going to do that and try to attack with Dark Arm Dragon. If the Fader's coming out, yes, there it is. I'm still just very, very curious why this wasn't dropped a turn earlier on a lot more damage. But yes, Gospodin does decide to destroy the Battle Fader. Sir Dorian has shown that he can't out the Dark Arm Dragon on the previous turns, so has to top deck into something to out it. Otherwise, he's just going to lose this game and be dropped to the bottom 4 bracket. Does have the Tribute Summon. There's the Ryzak. Is going to top deck the Dark Arm Dragon. If there's no interaction from Gospodin, there is not. There's only one Dark Monster in the graveyard. If the Raikou is attacked, that will mill the Dark Arm Dragon, not making it able to come back. but it will destroy the Ryza. So is he just going to attack over this hamster? Yes, he is. And does Господин have anything into the hand to close out this game over the Ryza? Attacking into the hamster will make it so that the Raiko is able to be flipped on the turn of Господин, will be able to draw into the Dark Arms, might just make it live again with the milling. Not entirely sure if this was the correct move, if he has anything to protect his life points with, but did activate, or did attack over the Super Nemo Mega Hamster with the Ryza, is now going to bounce it to the hand with the Swap Frog. And let's see what's going to happen. So this Raiko can flip, destroy the Swap Frog, mill 3 cards, and if there's exactly 2 Dark Monsters in there, this Dark Arm is able to come back out and attack for the necessary damage to attack for game. Unless there is anything else in the hand with the Ryza. And it's only 1 Dark Monster. Pulling the Rug is milled with a Raiko and a Junk Synchron. Oh, but there's an Armageddon Knight. Being able to put the last Dark into the graveyard to be able to summon out that Dark Arm Dragon in one go. He'll be able to push the entire damage in one attack. If there was a Gorse or something in the hand, these 2 monsters obviously do it. But he doesn't. He doesn't summon the Dark Arm. And there's the Gorse. He could have won this game. Why didn't he summon the Dark Arm Dragon? He didn't have to interact with anything. He had 3 Darks in grave. Even if the Ryza does anything, it doesn't matter. But now the Ryza can come out over this Dark Arm Dragon again, and it will be spun. I'm not too sure this was the correct play. Because there's now 2 Darks in the graveyard. Why? Why didn't he just summon the Dark Arm Dragon and attack for game? I don't understand. Oh yeah, but still, this Armageddon Knight could just put into 3 and he could summon the Dark Arm Dragon to attack for game. I guess I missed the compulse action with the Armageddon Knight earlier. So yeah, there's a tribute summon. And banishes the Dark Arm Dragon with the Caius unless there's an interaction in the back row. There wasn't last turn with the Ryza. Now we know there's 2 Monarchs there. And is this guy is going to connect? No, he's not. It's going to be a Mirror Force. And that's still going to be the game. But he did make it more difficult on himself by not attacking with the Dark Arm Dragon though. But Господин moving to the finals of the upper bracket here. And Sir Dorian's going down to the lower bracket. Alright. So let's see. Ludo and Samu Busteno still playing. Sir and Duck Tracy can fight it out for the finals of the losers bracket. 10-foot is out and Burndick also out. Both players are eliminated in 7th and 8th place. Congratulations to Rip. He is going to advance to the semifinals of the lower bracket. And his opponent, his or her opponent, or their opponent will be Ludo's or Samu Posteno. So yeah, we can check out the game later, but I think we're going to check out Ludo versus Samu while it's still going on, and then check out the final. There we go, and this is a game 3. I'm very, very used to Ludo being very, very quick with his matches. We see a Dark Arm Dragon already banished here for Samu. He's also on the Vayu Turbo deck. Has a bunch of options that some players do not choose to put in their deck, like the Charge, like the Chaos Sorcerer. But yeah, this is a very, very big attack position. Absolute Zero. It's 3,500 attack. That's going to deal 1,500 damage over that Sirocco. The graveyard does have a Vayu, so he is able to make an Arms Wing and take the Plague Spreader from the graveyard. So might be able to do something with a level 8 Synchro. And let's see what's in the graveyard. Not much in the graveyard for Ludo. Just a Mole and a Spine Gilman. So this This Armed Wing's definitely coming out, but is he allowing the Plague Spreader Zombie to come out as well, or does he have the DD Crow to interact with this Plague Spreader Zombie? Samu would have to set himself back a turn with top decking one card from his hand to special summon it from the graveyard. So if there's a DD Crow, that is very detrimental to his position. So has to make sure he top decks the right card, obviously, for that effect. Yes, does decide to activate the Plague Spreader Zombie, top decks the right card from his hand. Thumbs up from Ludo. So is going to be able to summon out the Plague Spreader Zombie, and this is going to make a level 8. Now, like I said, usually the level 8s that are in this deck, that can be special summoned with this Armed Wing and Plague Spreader Zombie are cards like Stardust Dragon, Dark End Dragon, Thought Ruler, Archfiend, Colossal Fighter. There is another level 8 that you can't special summon because the tuner is not a Blackwing and there are no 2 materials to use with it. The Silver Wind has very, very strict materials, but it's in there to be able to summon out with a value. Stardust Dragon does come out and is going to go into an Armor Master as well. Yes, the Stardust Dragon will protect from destruction. And there's the Burial from the Different Dimension. So if there's no interaction from Ludo with this, he will be able to summon out yet another Armor Master, attack over both Divas, and then use the Stardust Dragon's effect to negate the destruction effect of Absolute Zero. Absolutely mounting a board for Ludo that is very, very difficult to out. Yeah, Burial definitely going hard. So when he summoned out this Armor Master, he definitely had some sort of idea with the Stardust Dragon to do, because you don't pump out this big a board and then just trade with the Absolute Zero or leave it in attack mode and keep your Armor Master and Stardust Dragon if you can't out it any other way. So this Stardust Dragon probably just attacks over the Diva first, so that one Armor Master can destroy the other Diva in defense position, or the other way around, and then the final Armor Master can attack into the Absolute Zero so that the Stardust Dragon can negate, because they'll both be 2500. Yeah, so the Stardust Dragon first attacks over the defense mode Diva, one Armor Master going to attack over the attack mode Diva, dealing 2300 damage, and then crash in there and able to special out a Stardust Dragon in the end phase. That Stardust Dragon already attacked, but I think it's just fine. Yeah, the Stardust Dragon is going to use its effect end phase, and yeah, these cards are going to be left there. Ludo just has one set monster and one set back row, so Samu now has to decide what to do. And there's a Mystical Space Typhoon. The Bottomless Trapple didn't matter anyway. Has the ability to make the silver hit, and that is the game. Ludo concedes, and Samu Pasteno moves on to the final. And Samu says fuck. I don't think you have to say fuck when you move on to winners finals. And now we're going to watch this matchup. It's going to actually be a Vayu Turbo mirror match, proving Spiral's point that it is the best deck in the format. Samu Pasteno versus Gospodin, and let's hope they start their game soon. Yeah, I'll just move it to duel and check their hosting basically. So very, very clutch. Now we're going to be watching the finals, the winners finals, let's say that, because it's not the grand finals. The grand finals will be later, between the winner of this matchup and the winner of the losers brackets finals. So even after this match, we still have some Yu-Gi-Oh! Edison to go for this tournament, and yeah, waiting on the hosts from these players. Let's hope they do start soon. Going to check the Discord if there's any mentions of this game. or if they're both taking a little break before they're going to go into their final match. We can obviously understand if that's going to be the case, because this is a very important game for both players. We could check the other bracket. Yeah. Gospodin asking for a few minutes just to refresh. So let's go to a player that we haven't watched before yet. Doc Tracy and Rip are both playing right now, probably. So I am going to to check out both matches a little bit before moving on to the finals. Let's see if they're already playing. Yeah, Sir Dorian's playing Doc Tracy. So it seems like this match has already started really early. Doc Tracy has lost the first game. So if he wants to, if they want to stay into this match, they'll have to win this game. So let's see if they're able to do this. And just to be clear, this is the semi-finals of the losers bracket. Summoning that Shura makes me believe that this is a Blackwing deck, has the Prohibition, and uses it to call out Swap Frog. Alright, so no ability to use Swap Frog. If there's going to be a Substitute, then it has to bring out the Treeborn directly. But there's a Soul Exchange, doesn't matter, is able to summon a Jinzo. Haven't seen that in a long time. Very, very crazy. Won't be able to attack this turn, but has their own back row. And yes, we have a game on our hands. Alright, so the Blackwing player, it's not over yet. We know that Blackwing does have Kalut to attack over Jinzo or other high attack monsters. Has the Mystical Space Typhoon to interact with the back row. Twister, oh, and that's a +1. The Prohibition is able to be cleared with this Twister. That's what it was good for. Now the Blizzard comes down to get back the Shura. Doesn't leave a lot of time for interaction, but Sir Dorian is not responding to it, so probably just A-OK. Summons out the Goyo Guardian, will be able to take that Jinzo for himself, and 400 damage over the top of Jinzo, and moving it back to Sir Dorian. And now Sir Dorian is back to square one. No Treeborn Frog in the graveyard. We'll need something like a Soul Exchange to be able to summon anything out. Substitute is going to bring out probably the Swap Frog to dump the Treeborn Frog, but a lot of damage on the backswing, so yeah, needs to have something like a Gorz or a Battle Fade or a Tragodia to stop all that incoming damage. Otherwise, 5400 damage is just coming through, if not more, if Doc Tracy perhaps has another Blackwing monster in their hand. So straight on to main phase 1, doesn't waste any time, puts Jinzo into attack mode. Will there be another summon? Will there be a lot more damage to be pushed? Or, well, this is already a lot, obviously. This is just 5200 straight up. And yeah, Sir Dorian can't really afford to take much else. So let's see if there's anything in the hand to stop a bit of incoming damage. It does linger a little bit more in the main phase 1 though. Is deciding if the summoning of another Blackwing monster, in this case Bora, is the good idea. Does decide to go for it. Bora does attack with 1700, and yeah, that would put him down to 5400 if I'm correct. So that would keep him at 200 life points if he takes all this damage. And not responding yet. It might be a little bit of lag on my end. Or Sir Dorian's thinking about interacting with this right after taking the damage. Might be something like a Gorz or something like that. But we don't know yet. Decides to take the damage. Takes that 1700. 2400 coming in now. Is there a Gorz to drop? Or will this 2800 just come through? putting him down to 200 life points. And there's the Gores. So that token is going to be 2800 damage. There's no ability to use a trap card for Doc Tracy. That Jinzo turns up their own traps too. There's no amplifier obviously on the field. Not really a very good card, even back in the day. So don't expect it to be used at this point. And that Trevor for coming out. Is there another Monarch to interact with this board? Because Dorian might be able to swing this game back into their favor. And it's always possible that there's a Kalud in hand to use over this Bora if this gets attacked at any point. So if there's a Caius in the hand, perhaps the Bora will be banished, even though the token would have to trade with the Goyo Guardian in that case. But the Gores can still cleanly out this this Jinzo. So let's see what Sir Dorian is going to go with. Yeah, enemy controller is definitely great in this situation as well, but then you usually summon back your Treeborn Frog. Might decide against it because there's Boros in this deck. That's definitely a heads up play, but I don't see the enemy controller slam there yet, so might just not be there. Just goes to the battle phase. So what's going to attack into what? I imagine the Goyo Guardian is going to be cleared up with the token. Yes, that is the intention. But if there's a set spell, then there's definitely something that can be done. Token is removed. Yes, very heads up. So what's the Gorse going to attack? It's going to attack into the Blackwing Bora. And is Doc Tracy going to go towards the damage step, drop the Kalute, and decide this game with a Sir Dorian's attack? Sir Dorian, thinking about it now, has the Kalute in the back of their mind. Might be able to put this Bora into defense if the enemy controller that Liana was calling out is there. But that does waste another enemy controller and nothing being used. So if Doc Tracy has this this Kalute for the damage step, then this game is just over. And decides to drag it out to damage calc. And there's a Kalute. No need to do that. This is just game. No need to suffer this much. All right. So this game is going to Doc Tracy, and I think this is 1-1 then, right? Yeah. Go to game 3. So Sir Dorian should admit defeat here, so they can go to game 3. If there was the Econ in the hand, that could have saved Sir Dorian. So. And yeah, usually when there's a damage step, damage calc situation, Doc Tracy's that is right. I've actually had it myself not too long ago where there was a mirror match of Hero Beat. Their Neos Alias attacked into mine. They used Honest in the damage calc, in the damage step, and I used my Honest in the damage calc. And yeah, that's not very pretty. But there's no sort of Honest for Gores. There's just Kalute and Honest in the format, and cards like Shrink and stuff like that, but that can be used in damage calculation. So yeah, not really needed to go to damage calc for this situation, but yeah, the Kalute was there, and that was all she wrote. So here is the follow-up game, and Shura coming down, pushing that first 1800 damage. No Black Whirlwind to search out extra Blackwing monsters. Not really what Doc Tracy wants to see, obviously, but the pressure is always nice. So Dorian has to decide if they have any interaction to stop this damage, or wants to do something with that background. The Battle Fader came out, a little bit of lag on my end again. Yeah, Doc Tracy did set 2 back row. Battle Fader is going to be banished for a tribute summon. Seems like Ryza comes down. Will it be negated, or is what is going to target? Are they going to target this Shura? No, not going to target the Shura. Not scared of the Kalut. The back row is going to the top of the deck, going to attack into the Shura. But this might spell disaster if there's another Kalut in the hand for Doc Tracy. And we'll be able to just destroy this Ryza and special summon out another monster from the deck. So asking for Battle Step and Damage Step yet again. And Sir Dorian's already dreading what's going to happen. And this Kalut's coming out, and it is there again. Sir Dorian not learning from the situation last turn. Didn't put the Shura back onto the top of the deck. And therefore is losing this Ryza. And the Shura can be activated. The trap or spell that was set in the back row is lost now because it is shuffled away into the deck. Won't be able to draw it again, but that might be a good thing because it was set so rather slow. And yeah, this is just more pressure for Doc Tracy. Yeah, Doc Tracy at this stage deciding to either summon another card or wants to move to the battle phase, attack with just the 26 that is currently on the board. Board's very still again. It's very possible that I'm lagging again, but Sir Dorian's pressing the think button, making me see that that's definitely not the situation. I guess Doc Tracy used the think in the chat a little bit earlier when I wasn't looking. Tribute summons the value for the Sirocco, is able to push 3800 damage over just this, but decides not to use the effect of the Sirocco, but just attack with the Shura. In case that's a mystical space typhoon and does the pro Gorse play. But that's not coming down. Takes the 3800 damage. And Sir Dorian now fighting for their life. There's no Treeborn Frog in the graveyard. There's a set spell or trap here. Is there a way to get rid of these Blackwing monsters for them? Or is Sir Dorian going down quickly with 2-1 and out of the match? That would be sad for them, but yeah, we see this happen a lot where players that move down to the lower bracket just get kicked out again. Would be unfortunate for them. I think it's one of the few Frog players in the top cut that we had. We do have a lot of Blackwing and Vayu Turbo still left that I recall, because we do have the Vayu mirror match. I don't know if they already started. Chat, do you guys know if they already started? Is it already in the Discord? I do see that Samu hosted 4 minutes ago. I think we're just going to watch that, and we can revisit whatever is going on in the lower bracket later. Because obviously we want to see the winners finals going on between the Vayu Turbo decks. And we're right in time to see this Kaius banish the Raikou. That's definitely very good for Господин. Down to 5,900 life points though. They do have both the same amount of cards. Both have 5. But Господин a little bit more active. Used their brain control already. Or milled with the Raikou, but I don't see one, so it's probably not happened. Trap Dust, Shoot Spirit Reaper, and Brain Control in the graveyard though. Lots of power cards. This card trooper for Samu Pusteno, milling double Sirocco, no Vayu in the graveyard though. And there is a Necro Guard now to protect the card trooper from being destroyed on the follow-up turn. So if there's another Kaius in the hand, we'll be able to defend it. But with the other card trooper and also Sirocco milled for Господин, yeah, won't be able to save it from both attacks. But this means that a Dark Arm Dragon is able to come down if Господин so chooses, because there's exactly 3 Darks in the graveyard. The Dimensional Prison was used on the Card Trooper, but not Necroguard on the Card Trooper on the Kai's attack over the Card Trooper of himself. So decided not to save this Card Trooper to be able to Tribute Summon over it. Might not have the Kai's, decides to go for that extra draw, and now has one more set, again not very active, and Господин will be able to push that that advantage further on now. Will be able to keep that board activity, even if this Caius gets removed with either something like a Dimensional Prison or whatnot. Will be able to summon anything from the hand to have the more active board position, and that's something that's very, very important in this grindy type of matchup, especially if there's no graveyard setup yet for summoning out something like an Armed Wing. And Kai's attacks. Ooh, MST on the Heavy Storm. Will the Gorse come out? That's usually the situation when this happens. And yes, there is the Gorse. And now is the other way around. The activity is more in Samuel Pisteno's favor. Heavy Storm was destroyed with the Mystical Space Typhoon, but sets another back row. So there is some interaction to get rid of this Gorse if it tries to attack over Caius. What will Samuel Pisteno do? Will he attack with both monsters, or will he leave at least one into defense mode? Decides to go with the token in attack mode, attacks into the Caius. Will that be responded to with anything in the back row? Господин is certainly thinking about it, or might not have anything and just tries to telegraph that they have something. Господин definitely taking their time, using the think button for a second time in this attack declaration. Definitely thinking about all sorts of interactions. Checking the opponent's graveyard. We see here that there's 5 cards, but it's definitely possible to get down to 3 if there's a Dark Arm Dragon in the hand. Not really that pressing of an issue right now anyway, because there's no real way to get the Vio in the graveyard, and this situation wouldn't do it either. The token does need to go here though, because it attacked over the Caius and has the same amount of attack points, so someone needs to remove it, obviously. And now 4 Darks in the graveyard for Господин, not able to special out the Dark Arm Dragon if they have it, now that the Caius went to the graveyard. We'll need to throw a Vio into the grave in some way. Moves the Gorse into attack position. Not a lot of 2600 attack points in the deck for Vio Turbo. Not a 2700 either. So this could have just stayed into a defense mode. It usually makes sure that most stuff can't attack over with something like a Colossal Fighter or or Goya Guardian, obviously. Yeah, he does run junk. Yeah, we did see that before. So this Plague Spreader is going to be banished. We still have 5 Darks in grave now. Filling up the graveyard, and this is the situation I was talking about. You're just taking unnecessary damage if this is able to connect. It's not though, unless there's something like a Solemn Judgment on the backswing from Господин. But there's not. But this Gorse in attack mode, if he was able to connect over it by doing something like an MST on the Mirror Force, that would have been unnecessary damage. But at this point, Dark Refer being summoned for Samuel Pisteno. Drops the Chaos Sorcerer from the hand. Not able to special it out. No lights in the graveyard. And the Raikou being banished. Vio dropped into the graveyard. Able to summon out an Armed Wing if they so choose. But they could also decide just to push 4400 damage. Because there are still 2 set cards for Господин. And it's very unlikely that these cards can't interact with the board. So might just decide to put this Gorse back into defense mode and just attack with the Dark Grepher to not give anything into a Mirror Force. But that's, yeah, that's for someone to decide. Decides to go for this 4400 damage. Господин does not respond to the attack of this Dark Grepher, but does banish the Gorse, mitigate some of the damage, and yeah, goes back over to Господин. Now needs something of his own to be able to do something with the graveyard or attack over the Dark Grepher, because this is definitely Samu's game, it seems like. Still has a lot of gas left, and the Господин not really though. An Armed Wing being able to be summoned out here, that's going to be 4k damage if there's no interaction from Господин, putting him down to 200. Господин definitely thinking about doing something, but if there's a Torrential Tribute, an Armor Master is just going to come back out. It's Sirocco in the graveyard and not a Vayu. Alright, so that Mirror Force, very, very clutch. Deals with both the cards, no Dark Grepher and Armed Wing anymore. No ability to summon anything out from the graveyard, so yeah, equal footing again for Господин and Samu Pustano, but Samu now on 4 cards over 3, so perhaps able to push a little bit more advantage. No activity for Samu though, sets another card themselves. Let's see if Господин has something like a Raikou they want to flip, or a hamster, and push them down themselves. It is a hamster. It's possible that Samu has oppression. No oppression to destroy this hamster. Raikou will be able to be summoned out, and this card will push 1100 damage. Not that high of an attack total, but 1100 still nothing to sneeze at if you just have 3600 life points, putting him down to 2500. And yeah, that's a very important break point if we're thinking about something like an Armor Master later on. So Samu Pustano just setting a monster. This is just Raikou food though. Господин being able to flip summon that and destroy the monster. We know that the card trooper was already gone, so that won't be able to draw him a card either. And 1300 twice is lethal, so if Господин decides just to flip the Raikou, destroy the set monster, and there's no Torrential Tribute, then he can just keep attacking with these small monsters and threaten lethal over 2 turns. Decides not to though, attacks into the set monster with the Super Nimble Mega Hamster, and that is very dangerous. If that was a Raikou, that own Raikou could have been destroyed. This does have the Balls of Steels. It was a Vayu. Vayu will, in this case, be able to summon out an Armor Master with that Armed Wing in the graveyard, or might decide to go for yet another Armed Wing. No, the Armor Master is going to come out. Actually, Господин decides to put his thinking emoji on, so might have an interaction for this. Not really sure what it could be. You don't really want to activate oppression on that, because Господин knows very well that that won't work. Just paying life points for nothing in that case. But bonus trap on this Armor Master will be able to banish it and run Samu out of juice. There's now 2 Vayu banished, an Armor Master, Sirocco, and an Armed Wing. There's just 1 Vayu left in the deck, and without a Burial from the different dimension, it will have to be used with the Sirocco to get the Armed Wing out. And yeah, Transmigration is a good card against Vayu, but on the other hand, it is not very used, I think. I don't see it in a lot of side decks for us. I don't know if you run it yourself in Vayu Turbo, but it's definitely not a card that I've seen come up in a lot of deck lists. And Samu taking their time, knows there's a Raikou set, knows there's a threat from Super Nimble Mega Hamster that could come down for 1100 more damage. Needs to decide if they have something to to defend themselves with, need to set something like a monster to make sure that that hamster doesn't connect again, because life points are dangerously low, and yeah, it could just be game if Господин mills well with the Raikou, even if those small monsters get outed at some point with the trap cards that are set. Yeah, someone definitely having a tough turn at this situation. Decides to just take a little bit more time, and Господин not really pushing them for for a time like we saw Ludo do with 10 foot. Yeah, that's true. I don't really see any other card that could be activated except for Transmigration Prophecy. Vayu being summoned though from the side of Samu, attacking over this set Raikou that he knows about. And what will this Raikou destroy? If they decide to destroy the Vayu, then an Armored Wing can come out. Can also just target a set spell or trap. In that case, won't be able to be activated because it's a damage step. So it does get rid of a Dimensional Prison this way. Mills the Junk Synchron and the Rhoda and the Burial. So that's a lot of gas gone for Господин. But no Vayu has been used on their end, I think. No, it's just a Card Trooper and a Plate Spreader Zombie in the banished pile. So Господин still has a lot more gas left than Simon Pustano does. This is their last Vayu. And let's see if that that other set from Господин is another Raikou. Not flipping it though. Just attacking over the Vayu for 300 damage. And giving the opponent the ability to summon out an Armed Wing. Necrogarda also still in the graveyard for Simon Pustano. We haven't really seen that being used. So let's see what they're waiting on with that. It's usually with a Sirocco move over a Blackwing monster. Some of themselves already have two Siroccos used. One in the graveyard, one banished. Can banish the second one with the Vayu to make sure that the Armed Wing comes out. But there is a possibility of something like a Bottomless Trapple or Dimensional Prison on the side of Господин to deal with the final threat. And then definitely a Burial from the different dimension is needed for Samu Pustano to special summon anything out basically from the graveyard. That's not a Plague Spreader Zombie. Yeah, decides to activate this Vayu. And no think this time from Господин. Probably not a Transmigration Prophecy in that situation. Armored Wing comes out, no Bottomless Trapple. Did we see a lot yet from... Yes, we did see one already from Господин. Already Mirror Force and Deep Prison used as well. So there might still be one left. Not every list runs 3-dimensional prison. But it's definitely possible that there is some sort of interaction with the back row from Господин. Decides to attack with the Armageddon Knight over this hamster. That's going to connect for 300 damage. Not a very high interaction move anyway. Armed Wing attacks over the second hamster. And is there another Raikou in the deck? Yes, there probably is. There's only two here. And that means this set is not a Raikou. Not a Plague Spreader Zombie either. This might just be a Vayu. Spirit Reaper's also in the graveyard. It is a tech card we've seen from 10 foot before. Also Господин on it here. But definitely not being set here. So we know this is a Raikou. And the other set's most likely to be a Vayu. And that's it for the battle phase of Samu Pustano. Has to think now about what they're going to do. If they're going to summon out that Plague Spreader Zombie. The Armageddon Knight is in a precarious situation. It is very, very weak if there's no battle stoppers from the back row. Because of the low attack points and his low life points. Something like... Akaius could threaten lethal if they're not careful. Banishing something like the Armed Wing for 1,000, doing 1,000 damage over the Armageddon Knight, really putting him down to just 200 life points in that situation. And I don't think we've seen all Caiuses yet. Yeah, so there's still one left, at least for Господин. So goes for this Plague Spreader Zombie. Are they going to tune it with the Armed Wing? Or are they going to use the Armageddon Knight to summon out something like a Goyo Guardian? If it is, I have to realize that this is a very, very dangerous situation still. Something like a Brain Control. Never mind, it's actually already used for Господин. And since this is game 1, probably no Mind Control in the main deck. Definitely thinking about what he's going to do with this Plague Spreader Zombie. What he's going to tune it with is going to be the Armageddon Knight going to a 6. Or going to an 8 with this... yeah, this is... No, this is not... It is finals, but it's winners final. So it is double elimination. We will see the lower bracket later on. And the winner of that will face the winner of this match in grand finals. And whoever loses here will drop down to the lower bracket. So it won't be over yet. So this Stardust Dragon that's being summoned out is going to be judgmented by Господин. The Armed Wing was used. Does leave the Armageddon Knight into this precarious situation. It is lower attack points. It is vulnerable. Samu definitely needs something in the back row to deal with any big attack monster that tries to attack over it. And even if Господин doesn't want to, can just flip this Raikou to destroy the Armageddon Knight. Since this is probably a Vayu set, there's probably no real reason to play around the Torrential Tribute if it's not, yeah, it's not been used by Samu yet. Yes, this is game 1 for them. And Господин, like we've seen before, really taking their time to decide what to do next in this turn. And yeah, the Raikou is being flip summoned. It is definitely possible to shoot anything else but the Armageddon Knight, obviously. But let's see what this Raikou decides to target. It's the background. It is the Heavy Storm. The Heavy Storm is now gone. So Господин going to mill 3 cards from the top of their deck and has to decide what next to do into this Armageddon Knight. Think of no response, but you still mill the cards to resolve this effect. So the target's back to the set position. Probably Господин has the Torrential Tribute then in the back row, thinking about using it. So the mills are Dark Armed Dragon, Dark Grapher, and the Sirocco. So still no value in the graveyard for Господин. That's a tough situation. Since the Junk Synchron's already milled, might not have a second one, so then won't be able to synchro off this Raikou, but might have the Caius in the hand. Not really a reasonable thing then to Torrential, obviously, but might be nice to be able to get this Raikou into the graveyard. And I don't know what Samu's saying, if that's just mashing the keyboard or if that's some different language, but yeah, I see TT, so it's probably also thinking about Torrential Tribute. Oh, and there's a Gale being summoned. Alright, did not consider this tuner. It's also a third tuner, obviously. We saw Plague Spreader Zombie being used before. And we already saw the Junk Synchron gone, but the Gale was the last card in hand. Being able to summon out the Catastor, that's going to be Bottomless Trap Hold. But this Armageddon Knight is on 700 attack though. Господин with the back row might be able to just flip up this value. Doesn't decide to do so. Doesn't want to get rid of the Armageddon Knight in that way. So Samu has to decide what now to do. But if this is a Caius, that is definitely going to be a punish for not attacking over the Armageddon Knight if that was a value. So not sure if... oh, but it's a burial from the different dimension. That is big. That is super big for Samu. Gosperin is already super low. And 2 value coming back. And what's he going to bring back next? Might have to set this Armageddon Knight into defense mode if there's no real way to go for lethal. Because that's 700 attack points. That's very risky to leave up. But yeah, this burial from the top definitely going to be able to push some damage. We know that there's a Scirocco still in the graveyard. Sorry, an Armed Wing, and goes with the Armor Master. So now Samu has to decide which one to use first. Vayu with the Armed Wing. Yes, going to go for the Armor Master, leaving the Vayu into the grave with the other Armor Master. Already puts it to the graveyard though, expecting there a Torrential Tribute to come out. So now Gosperin has to think about what they're going to do. Is there a Necrogarda in the graveyard for them? No, there isn't. So with no Torrential Tribute, if Samu reads this correctly and is able to attack over this with the Armageddon Knight, that might just be lethal. So Gosperin lets this effect through. Yes, the Armor Master needs to come from the graveyard because that was sent there for no real reason. The summon is okay. And now going to attack, yes, in with the Armageddon Knight. Probably thinks there's value as well. Yes, that's going to the graveyard, and this is just a Torrential Tribute. So that's just the game. Wow, that burial takes the game. And that's exactly what happened. So if it's just the Armor Master that can come down the next turn, if this Armageddon Knight wasn't able to attack over the set value, then this would not have been lethal because he had 1950 life points. And if both Silverwind and Armor Master come out, then the Torrential Tribute can wipe everything. So Gosperin really got punished for not attacking over the Armageddon Knight with the value earlier. That's very sad for him, but also something he could have prevented even with the Burial top deck. Always very important to think about what things can punish you, because if the Caius is able to punish you in that situation as well, it's just, you know, there's so many situations where you can just straight up lose the game. I guess Caius wasn't that bad because the Torrential Tribute can then just out it, but in that case, the Caius can just not be summoned, and you still hold the initiative with an 800 attack points monster into 2100 life points. So I'm just not too sure that this was the correct play when you have the Torrential Tribute behind to get rid of any summon, basically. Yeah, but there definitely was an immigration in the back row for Gosperin. So game 3. So let's see who is going to win the winners finals of this series. Is Samu going to take a 2-0, or is Gosperin going to come back forcing a game 3? Callback, great. Gosperin starting off strong with that Dark Grapher and the Value pitch. Going to be able to dump that Scirocco. Is the Armed Wing going to come out right away? No, it's not. Not giving Sam Pusteno the ability to out that Armed Wing right away, able to trade it super quickly, super cleanly, just the size to keep it in the graveyard. And yeah, let's see what they cited for each other. So charge for the Light Brigade. Oh, and that's a great mill. Samu milling great. Oh, this is very, very much Samu's game. This match has just been going so great for him. Ripping that burial from the different dimension, milling Vayu and Armed Wing, not even having to do anything for it, like the Dark Grepher, where Gospodin actually used the Grepher and spend the card to get this into the graveyard. Samu just keeps the amount of cards that he has and can just summon out the Armed Wing and try to push the advantage that way. Does decide to go with the Card Trooper. That can't be much of an issue. If there's a Mirror Force, that will just draw him another card, replacing the Card Trooper. And if not, Dimensional Prison would need to banish either that or Armed Wing, so can definitely attack over this Dark Grepher in any case. Very heads up play by Samu. And Gospodin now in the tank, thinking about what they want to do. Yes, the Dimensional Prison used on the Armed Wing doesn't want to let a singular Vayu be used with this Armed Wing on a later situation. So that's very much something to keep in mind when playing these Vayu decks. Always try to banish the big Blackwing monsters or send them back to the extra deck so that they can't be used to summon out another one with Vayu from the graveyard. But yeah, Compulse definitely a better card in this situation, because back in the extra deck they can't sack you with that burial like happened last game. But yeah, now Gospodin going with their own Armed Wing, but sets a back row, usually then doesn't attack. Yeah, none of the 3 back rows were activated on the summon from Samu. So Gospodin definitely thinking there's a battle stopper. Card Trooper milling 3 cards. That's going to be Dark Grepher, Caius, Dark Grepher, Raiko, and Decro. With the Caius already in the graveyard, exactly 3 darks. So if Samu does have the Dark Arm Dragon, is able to summon it out if they so choose here. Obviously, that can run into something like a... Yes, it is there. And can rock into something like a Bonus Trapple, but Priority can just destroy the Armed Wing, doing a 2-for-1 trade. If there's even anything of a response, Gospodin does not respond, just puts the Armed Wing into the graveyard. This going to go +2. Actually going to be able to amnesty a Dimensional Prison, but still just going to be able to have a lot of a card advantage over Gospodin. Has 6 card to Gospodin's 3. And yeah, Course is not really a card that's usually played in a matchup. But does need to account for it. But his Dark Armor Dragon can just attack over Course itself. So the token can be destroyed with the final Dark from the graveyard. Remove the Dark Grepher, even if it's there. So no fear for Samu Pustano. Just decides to push all the damage. And Gospodin, on his last life, needs to top deck something here though. Needs to recover from that last game. And also recover from this... amount of cards down and the board situation that Samu has built up. Might be very difficult to do it. Might need to have to top deck something like a break control, banish their own darks from the graveyard to be able to destroy that board that's being set up. Maybe tribute something for something like a Sirocco or a Caius. And with this banish, might be a good situation for them if they have their own burial to summon out yet another Blackwing Synchro monster from the extra deck. But Gospodin, like always, just very much taking his time, thinking through all the plays, and hopefully doesn't get punished the same way as last game. Yeah, Dark Arm Dragon is definitely super clutch in a mirror match. And yeah. Oh, Sirocco is being banished? Why? I think that's just a misclick from Gospodin, right? Or was this already... Oh, no, this was already banished for Armed Wing, sorry. I thought this was... For some reason, I thought there was already a banish for Yellow. Alright, so this Armageddon Knight going to drop a Plague Spreader zombie actually into the graveyard instead of a Vayu for the Armed Wing. Alright, so... Gospodin thinking about special summoning out a level 6 perhaps. Or might have something else to interact with this board. But that can't make a Black Rose Dragon. That would be the best situation, I guess, for Gospodin. If he's able to make a Black Rose, but that's not the case. Summons out a level 6 Brionac. Can't feel good to put that Dark Arm Dragon back into the hand. This Vayu Turbo deck can definitely manipulate the graveyard for the amounts of Darks, even though there's just one in the hand in the graveyard right now. With Dark Arm back in the hand and Card Trooper perhaps as well, we'll be able to mill more cards. Dark Arm going to the hand right now. Gospodin really has to hope that there's not more Dark Monsters going to be milled into the graveyard. Having Samu get the chance to bring this Dark Arm back out. Yeah, so this Brionac going to try to attack over Card Trooper. Not going to work. Going to be banished. Down to 1 card versus Samu's 5. This is looking bad. Gospodin might just have lost the game here. Let's see what's going to happen, but this is very, very bleak. Sets a back row. Might be able to stay alive for 1 more turn if that's a battle interaction or a summon interaction. Yeah, Samu mills also the Plague Spreader zombie into the graveyard and the Chaos Sorcerer. Exactly 3 darks. Like I said, just had to waste the Raikou with the Brionac. And yeah, doesn't even try to pop the back row. That's kind of strange from Samu's perspective. Why not pop the back row and... no interaction though, so that is the game. Alright, so Samu Pustena moving on to the grand finals. So let's see who else is still in contention in the bracket. We can check it. Oh wow, and Sir was very, very much so down on the last match. Was down in life points, was down in board state, and was down a game versus Doc Tracy, but managed to turn it back around. Moved on to the semifinals for the losers, and Rip versus Sir is now the game. So let's take a look at that. I'm going to load up the game, but I am going to say that I'm going to take a little bit of a break here from the stream, so I might be back a little bit later. If they're already playing, that is. I don't see Dorian playing. So there's a little bit of a delay at this point of the match. It seems like one of the players is hosting though. Rip Kid No Cry is hosting. So let's click them so you can check out the match when it starts. Yeah, I'm going to be taking a break when we tune into this game, but definitely stay tuned because we are going to watch it and watch a lot more games going on later because this is the semifinals for them. They still have the finals to go versus Gospodin, and then obviously the grand finals between Samu Pusteno and the winner of the losers finals. Seems like Sir Dorian's here to be able to play, so let's wait for Rip Kid No Cry to accept the match, and then we can go check it out. So we do have our final 4. It is Rip Kid No Cry, Sir Dorian, Samu Pusteno, and Gospodin, who is in the losers finals. So They're both guaranteed to be in the final three. Samu Postano definitely top two. And Rip Kid No Cry and Sir Dorian are definitely going to be playing for their spot in the top three. So while we wait, does the chat have any predictions? Who's going to win? We get to see what decks are still left, because I'm not too sure what deck Rip Kid No Cry is on. We do know that Sir Dorian is on Frogs. We have two Value Turbos still in the tournament, and then we have the deck that Rip Kid No Cry is using. So Dorian going with the Swap Frog, dumping the Treeborn Frog. Swap Frog goes back to the hand, and hopefully, Armageddon Knight, yes, we'll probably see what kind of deck Rip Kid No Cry is playing here. Oh, and it's also Value Turbo. All right, so we have 3 Value Turbos left in the tournament. So just 1 Frogs. So Dorian has to hold it out for the Value Turbo. I think there was only 3 Value Turbo in top 8, right? So that would mean that Value Turbo really lasted a long time in this tournament. All 3 just went on to top 4. All right, so like I said before, I'm going to take a little bit of a short break. I'll leave the game on. You guys can check it out. And I'll be back in a few minutes with some more commentary, and we'll definitely be checking out the losers finals after this and the grand finals after that. So stay tuned. Alright, chat, thank you guys for bearing with me for that little bit of a longer break. So it seems like the game's already finished. Sir won against Rip Kid No Cry. That means Sir Dorian with the frog deck is going to move on to the losers finals, and we're going to watch Sir versus Gospodin. Let's hope they start soon. Maybe they already started, so let's just check. Yeah, Gospodin versus Sir Dorian. They haven't been going on too long, so you guys haven't been staring at the windscreen for that long. Yeah, definitely, Liana. I'm already back on stream, so but thank you for that tag. All right, so we have the frog deck still up here in the losers finals. Did pump out that Gores with a token and the Treeborn Frog. Lots of attack position monsters for Gospodin. Definitely has thought about pushing a ton of damage. And the funny part about this is that this is a repeat of the semi-finals, actually, of the winners. So they just have a repeat match here in the losers finals. So let's see if Gospodin is able to clutch out this match. Yeah, it's just something that not everyone does. Some people get rather salty if they lose. Especially in a specific manner. Obviously, I didn't watch the match myself, so I can't really go into what exactly happened there, but sometimes it happens, and it's very much a gentleman's thing and not really a mandatory thing. So Sir Dorian thinking on their turn, if they have a Monarch, they can definitely try to pick this board apart. Going to tribute this Treeborn Frog and going to banish the set Raikou. Now with the Gorse in attack position and the token, can definitely take this board apart for Gospodin, and that's going to set him back quite a bit. No value in the graveyard, just a bottomless trapple. So yeah, this is going to be one of those punishes that frogs can deal when you do get on the aggressive, but they have the swing back with the Gores and the Caius. And yeah, that Armed Wing also going to the graveyard. So all three monsters gone to the graveyard. And Sir Dorian holds on to this entire board. So can Gospodin do something back? Can he summon something like an Armageddon Knight to get a third Dark in the graveyard? Summon a Dark Armed Dragon. Doesn't appear to be the case. Just sets a monster and activates the Trap Dust Shoot. Tries to snipe something else from the hand from Sir Dorian. If there's something like another Caius, if that set monster is a Raikou or a Hamster, really needs to get that off and pick the board apart from Sir Dorian to get back into this game and deal the rest of the damage. We're looking rather bleak. 3 cards just isn't that much, even if the opponent's also just on 3 cards in hand. So Fader, Enemy Controller, and Light and Darkness Dragon shuffles the other card back. Apparently also a monster. But yeah, able to summon out that Treeborn Frog. Might still go for a tribute summon of Light and Darkness Dragon, because if this is a Raikou or a Hamster, will just be negated by this Light and Darkness Dragon and push a heap ton of damage. That Light and Darkness Dragon does attack over the Hamster. That will be negated. 1 negate down for the Light and Darkness Dragon. A little bit strange that they summon a token. Rather just do that with something like a counter on the Light and Darkness Dragon. Yes, there it is. And can now attack in with the token and the Caius if there's no response with a Gorse from Gospodin himself. Doesn't appear to be. So very, very dire situation for Gospodin. Has to have a lot, and doesn't really look like something like a Vayu Turbo deck can actually deal with this board from the frog deck. So unless something crazy happens, I think this is just the game. And oh, it's a Spirit Reaper. Nothing happens there. Yeah, no effect. It's not destroyable by battle, and actually able to stall out this game. Did not see that one coming. Enemy controller, but that's I don't know how that works because it should be negated with the Night and Darkness Dragon. I'm not too sure. I think I'll rely on the judges to see if that's the correct move here. But no attack with the Caius. Didn't want to attack for game. Hastomer says, getting a little bit back into this game now. Attacks the Raikou, does destroy the monster. That means that there's no battle interaction from the two sets that Господин has. Alright, so yeah. So Lad doesn't get the chance to negate that enemy controller, but because it's already tributed, I guess. Allure of Darkness activated, going to banish the Vayu from the hand. 2 Vayu and a Sirocco now in the banish zone. Would be great for Господин to have something like a Burial to be able to summon out an Armor Master with that Armed Wing. But no such luck. Sir Dorian takes the first game. Господин on the back foot needs to win too. Will he have the back-to-back win against Sir Dorian, or will he not be able to win versus the Frog deck in the losers finals and drop out of the tournament? Seeing the Frog deck rip through all these Vayu Turbos then and maybe even taking the entire tournament. But would have to win 2 matches consecutively against Samu, and that might be a very big undertaking because Vayu Turbo can definitely do a lot of damage very early. So we'll have to wait and see if he even makes it to the finals and would be able to win both matches. That would definitely be an upset. But let's get into game 2 here. Sir Dorian on the Frog deck, going to go second. That's always difficult for Frog decks. They need to set up their Treeborn Frog in the graveyard with something like a Swamp Frog on that first turn. Does Господин have something like a Royal Oppression for something like a Substitute? Or did he not side it in? Definitely possible. Swamp Frog comes out, no Substitute needed. Treeborn Frog will just be dumped into the graveyard. A set monster for Господин is probably a Hamster or a Raikou. Sir Dorian would be best and just bounces to the hand, decides to do that. And let's see what the follow-up is for Господин. No, it's the Spirit Reaper that we saw earlier. And that's going to rip a card from Sir Dorian's hand. Even if a Gorse is coming out, only a Battle Fader can stop this. But if Gorse doesn't come out right now, it may be ripped from the hand if it's in the hand for Sir Dorian. And decides to go on the last card. That's a Soul Exchange. Won't be able to take out the Spirit Reaper. Does tribute it for a Vanity's Fiend. No Tribune Frog able to come out. Soul Exchange has been... Oh, but there's a Brain Control. No, that's terrible. And a Solemn Judgment. Oh, these are big plays. One Soul Exchange already gone. Brain Control Judgment that... Sir Dorian not able to get through this Vanity's Fiend easily, but the monster is set, plus a back row, maybe an enemy controller, able to perhaps put the Vanity's Fiend into defense mode. Господин comes out swinging, yes, there's the Econ, puts it to defense mode, and now Sir Dorian might be able to come back into this game. And with Господин down on life, that could definitely be a difficult situation. No back row either, just sending a monster. And yeah, if anything can be summoned out for Sir Dorian, yeah, no Treeborn Frog. That Vanity's Fiend's gonna stop it from coming out. But a Tribute Summon over it with a Caius, banishing the Raikou, attacking over the Vanity's Fiend, and clearing up the board very, very nicely by Sir Dorian. So 2 Darks in the graveyard, no Dark Armed coming out yet. 3/4 can now come out for Sir Dorian. No more Vanity's Fiend on the board to stop it. And is there another Monarch out there? Seems like there is at least something. Oh, it's the Light and Darkness Dragon coming out again. That has plagued Gospel in the last game already. And no effect this time. So not even going down to 2300 life points. Attack points. And Gospodin needs to struggle to find a way to out this. Ooh, and that Vanity's Fiend, that Vayu going to the graveyard. If there's a Sirocco going to the graveyard as well, can try to activate this Vayu multiple times to put the Light and Darkness Dragon down to 800 attack, so it can no longer negate because it will only have 400 defense. Just sending another monster might be the Sirocco. And that would be a way to out this Light and Darkness Dragon. No, just another Vayu. Filling up the graveyard definitely with stuff to be able to activate and make sure that that Light and Darkness Dragon gets taken care of. But yeah, dwindling down on cards with just setting them and the Light and Darkness Dragon being able to attack over it though. So Gospodin definitely needs to get his draws right. Yeah. We're in the losers final of Top Cut currently in T Collectibles. So attacking over the Dark Grepher, that's very much a desperation play, not wanting to go down to that 1200 life point total. Has seen the Swap Frog come out before just to deal the necessary lethal. I think in game 1 of their earlier match. So knows that needs to do something about this Light and Darkness Dragon putting in damage. But yeah, taking the 2800 now, just 1200 life points left. Very difficult situation for Gospodin. Tournament life on the line. If he's able to do anything to combat this Light and Darkness Dragon, might be able to take back the game at some point, but if it's just going to be set monsters constantly, then at some point just going to run out, and Sir Dorian might be able to attack for game in the next turn if he has no other sets, and take this to the grand finals. So Gospodin really taking his time. We've seen previously when he does take his time, like in the first match when he had lethal on like 5600 life points for Sir Dorian, I think. Managed to do a lot of plays in a single turn. But yeah, this Plague Spreader Zombie is going to be negated with stacking the card onto the deck. So yeah, has to do it again and again. Or can summon out a Sirocco now and attack over it. No, decides to use the effect again. What is the situation then? Is there an Armageddon Knight coming out? Those who want to attack over a 1300 Light and Darkness Dragon. No, stacks a third card onto the deck. Light and Darkness Dragon down to 800. Won't be able to attack for game. Now the Plague Spreader Zombie can come out. 4 cards stack onto the top of the deck. This is crazy. Never seen this play before. Gospodin going down to just 3 cards. Drawn it now though. Apparently didn't try to use Plague Spreader's effect again. But this is difficult. Yeah, just going to try to make sure that this Light and Darkness Dragon doesn't attack more. But if the Swap Frog comes out and there's nothing to deal with the Swap Frog, then this is just game again. We know the Swap Frog is out there. So this needs to be specifically Book of Moon or something on the Swap Frog. Or the other thing that's going to come out over the Treeborn Frog. A new Light and Darkness Dragon. And I can't see a way for that not to be lethal. That is game, and Sir Dorian wins the match, moves on to the grand finals. Господин, sadly, down in this match, is third place though, will be able to win 10 euros. I don't think I've mentioned the prizes for the winners yet, but yeah, since these players are top 3, Господин will get 10 euros, the second place will get 15, and 25.84 for the winner of the tournament. But yeah, so it is now Sir versus Samu Pusteno. Can Sir beat the third Vayu Turbo consecutively in a row, and actually twice? Or is he going to drop to Samu Pusteno? Which one is going to take the match? We're going to see it here very soon. Let's see if the players need a little bit of time to get ready for this match, or if they're going to jump into the game right away. So yeah, very, very clutch. Very, very interesting to see which one is going to take it. And I'd love to hear from you guys, chat. Yeah, 25.84. Somebody donated 84 cents, so we're definitely going to give that out to the winner of the tournament. Definitely. So yeah, let me know. Who do you guys think is going to win? Is the Frog going to take it? Is the Vayu Turbo going to take it? Vayu Turbo definitely has the upside of the Frog needing to beat him 2 times, but it is possible. So what do you guys think? And just loading up the dueling book again because I couldn't do anything in the unlimited section here. We see Samu Pusteno hosting here, so the match is going to begin right away. Sir Dorian has clicked, and yeah, this is it. The grand finals of the first HRC series. Very, very, very hyped for this match. Sir Dorian fought his way through multiple Vayu Turbo players to get to this place. Lost initially in the top 4 to Vayu Turbo, beat 2 in a row. Is he able to do that again? We're all going to find out right now. So Samu Pusteno won the rock, paper, scissors, able to go first. Let's see what he's going to do. Charge the Light Brigade. We saw before that milled great cards. Necrogardna milled here, also very good dark to mill, not exactly Vayu Sirocco like he did previously versus Господин, but still definitely a good mill if he wants to stop an attack, and has just a T set. Probably the Raiko that he searched here. Nobleman of Extermination, seen that before from Sir Dorian, so that's 2 bottomless triples that need to come out of the deck. Sir Dorian wasting no time, going to go into Soul Exchange on the Super Nimble Mega Hamster, and using the Subtito to get out the Treeborn Frog, maybe set up the Duplog. We haven't seen anything banished from Samu Pusteno from the deck, so apparently it's either in the hand or only plays 1, because otherwise this is an illegal play. Just going to verify with Samu there's no in the deck. Yeah, so it is in the deck. They're now fixing it. Samu noticed that they're that the DB lag didn't banish, so now it's all cleared up. Alright, so we can go back. To continuing this match, double bottom is gone, so Sir Dorian doesn't have to fear this anymore. Very clutch card. If you hit the Dimensional Prison as well, can just banish 3 of those interactive trap cards on attacks. So for the Frog deck, it can definitely be very good if there's a back row deck with multiple of the same card. But we already saw it hit an MST and Torrential earlier. And in that case, it's just a worse MST because it doesn't do much else. So it already is a little bit of hit or miss, but it works out well in this situation. And Samu setting another back row again, hoping there's not another Nobleman of Extermination, I'm guessing. But there is the second one, and that Mirror Force is banished. So Ryza coming down, top decking the monster, and this is looking great for Sir Dorian. Really controlling this match, getting rid of all of those back rows, getting rid of the set monster earlier with the Super Nimble Mega Hamster. Now top decking the Raikou probably with the Ryza, because the Raikou still wasn't set after the charge. He kind of faked it out with the Super Nimble Mega Hamster, but ended up getting punished for that. And Three-Word Frog coming out now. Pot of Avarice, not a really standard choice in the Frog deck, but able to shuffle back every one of these water monsters, 3 frogs and 2 substitutes, and able to draw 2 more cards, pulling even more ahead in card advantage. That Pot of Avarice can definitely be a little bit dead at times though, definitely if you don't have the ability to get those frogs out of the deck. And also, you don't really want to draw into them anymore. You really want to thin the deck and draw out those monarchs. But at this stage of the game, he already has that. So, yeah, putting Samu Posteno down in the first game really hard, really fast. And, yeah, scooping it up right away. So, almost resetting the bracket here. Samu Posteno needs to win the next game to stay in this match. Or they will need to go to the final match to decide this tournament. Very, very hype how Sir Dorian was able to do this. I think Ragnarok would approve of this of this speedy frog win. Definitely all the right moves. Maybe not all the right cards, but yeah, Sir Dorian definitely going with their own techs, and it has been working out for them all tournament because yeah, we've seen him in the grand finals. So. Both players thinking a little bit about their side deck choices. So Samu needs to decide if the Royal Oppression needs to stay in versus his frog deck or not. Some frog decks do a lot of special summoning with not just Substitute, but frog heroes also use Miracle Fusions. You don't expect them here, but there can be something like a Junk Synchron, stuff like that also special summon. But you also need to consider your own special summons. We've seen stuff like Gale come out that can be special summoned if there's a Blackwing monster. We've seen stuff like Chaos Sorcerer, Dark Arm Dragon. Not sure if Samu plays all those cards, but yeah, definitely plays Dark Arm Dragon. I'm 100% sure of that. So that could be something to take into consideration if that Royal Oppression is actually that good or not. Yeah, Card Trooper coming down, milling the value, also milling the Vanity's Fiend and a Dimensional Prison. Probably wanted that Vanity's Fiend as follow-up, like Gospodin had in the previous match, but it also can backfire a little bit if you yeah are getting that Vanity's Fiend outed after using a Solemn Judgment like we saw there. But no play for Sir Dorian. Seems to have not a lot to do. And Samu did answer our question, is Royal Oppression going to stay in? And that is answered with a definitive yes. Royal Oppression being milled here, double value into the graveyard. No Siroccos yet, so can't push the advantage with summoning out another Armed Wing. but perhaps that can follow suit later. This card trooper is already quite a bit of pressure, dealing 1900 damage. But there's a Tragodia. Doesn't need to take the life point damage though. But the Tragodia is going to be 3600, and over a 400 attack card trooper on the next turn can deal quite a bit of damage. 3200, nothing to scoff at. No extra back row, so if that can be dealt with, Sir Dorian can really put in a lot of damage here in this turn. Still no Treeborn Frog though. Uses Soul Exchange on the card trooper, decides not to attack over it. Going to tribute the card trooper and the Tragodia to summon the Light and Darkness Dragon. We've seen this before from the match with Gospodin. That was his bane. The Light and Darkness Dragon is just the bane of the Vayu Turbo deck. Definitely, if there's no Sirocco in the graveyard, can't really out that. And yeah, Sir Dorian really has had the good fortune of the Vayu just being halfway there. Because if there's a Sirocco going to the graveyard at this point, Crow cannot be activated. Well, if it is activated, it will just result in the Light and Darkness Dragon going down in attack and defense points. So that won't be a very good situation. Does decide to tribute summon this Raikou set for Sirocco. Didn't flip it. Special summons the Gale. Can synchro summon into level 8. And what are they going to choose? We do know that, like we said, this Vayu can just activate. Choose a Stardust Dragon. Vayu activation. And it's going to be negated with Light and Darkness Dragon. And Samu just says ×4 just to make sure that this is done in a speedy process. Now summons out the Armed Wing. No DD Crow coming out for Sir Dorian. So is being able to deal quite a bit of damage. Just the Tragodia in the graveyard. So that Stardust Dragon will be able to attack over the Tragodia if the Light and Darkness Dragon summons it out. I think it's mandatory. Yeah, it takes the 800 damage here. And the Stardust Dragon can just attack over it. Tragodia gone. And this situation is difficult for Sir Dorian. No Treeborn Frog access. Already Soul Exchange used. Does he have another one or Brain Control or any other way to come back into this game? Because otherwise it's going to be very, very quick. There was already no interaction from the battle damage earlier. Yeah, so... yeah. Very, very interesting situation. And Samu might pull this back, forcing the game 3 here. So the Armageddon Knight comes out, dumps the Sirocco into the graveyard, might summon another Armed Wing just to push a lot of damage, try to go for game. If there's no way, yeah, and Sir Dorian scoops it up, goes to the deciding game 3. Is Samu Pusteno able to take this game, or is Sir Dorian going to take it, forcing the bracket reset, going to a deciding final match? We're going to see it here. Samu Pusteno 1 game away from winning the entire tournament. Let's see what's going to happen. Sir Dorian on the play here, can draw a 6th card, obviously. Let's see if the Treeborn access is there this game. Wasn't there last game, really ended up costing him. No real slam out of Swap Frog and no Substitute either, so there is still no Treeborn access in this game. Sir Dorian will hate to see that. He might be having some sort of battle stopper with a battle fader or something like that, but yeah, Samu Pusteno starting strong again with that card trooper, milling 3 cards again from the top of his deck. Has been doing that every single game up till now. In this match with a charge earlier, and now the card trooper. Mills aren't that great. Armageddon Knight, Oppression, Allure, definitely cards you want to see in your own hand, but definitely happy with able to push the damage. Card Trooper being sacrificed with that Soul Exchange. Substitute coming out. Will use the effect to special out the Treeborn Frog. and can actually go through its entire deck. The set card is not the second Royal Oppression. I think Samu will definitely be sad about that. But yeah, a lot of frog access this game. So yeah, let's see if Sir Dorian is able to push the advantage again, like he did so cleanly in that game 1, where everything was just outed with Noblemen of Exterminations, Monarch spinning the monsters of Samu, and just pushing a heap ton of damage in this match. Actually, Swap Frog coming back into the hand. There was a Dupe Frog in the hand, so summoning the second one. And let's see if Samu has a way to out these Dupe Frogs with something like a Dark End again, like we saw earlier. Needs to have both the Sirocco and the Gil in the hand again to perform that, but we've seen it before. It's definitely not impossible, and definitely a good way to out this Dupe block. Send the defense position 1 to the graveyard, attack over the attack position 1 for 2000 damage, dropping Dorian down to 4100, and yeah, definitely putting the pressure down on him in that situation if that's the case. But Samu definitely thinking about what to do here. Might not have the play in hand that I just mentioned. They're already a soul exchange in the graveyard, so something like setting a Hamster or Raikou is not too bad of a play. We know that obviously a Monarch can come out. If this set can be activated before the Treeborn Frog is able to be special summoned, then a Caius or a Ryza can come down spinning that monster. So might want to go for a more proactive play. That seems to be what Samu is going for. Summons the Dark Grepher, thinking about if there's going to be a drop, and if so, what from the hand. Currently still just deciding. Checking graveyard, seeing that there's 2 Substitute, 2 Swap Frog, 2 Treeborn Frog, no Swan Swaps in the hand, probably another Substi in the hand as well. So not really sure why turn 1 nothing was really done. Just allowing the Card Super to go for it. Maybe doesn't really mind the incoming damage and just wanted to out the starter with the Soul Exchange to set up the Dupe block. But yeah, Samu's thinking on the discard. Probably has multiples then. Something like a Plague Spreader Zombie. No, actually, probably no good discards then, because Vanity's Fiend and Necroguard, now definitely not what you would usually throw into the graveyard here. And that doesn't really seem like a way to out this Dupe block. Might just have to set a back row or something and just pass this turn. Oh wait, no, it's a Dark Arm Dragon coming out. Dorian's probably not done something like a Solemn Judgment, so Dark Arm can definitely pop a few cards and attack over. Doesn't need to pop the Dupe Frog. We'll pop the back row probably and just attack over with the Dark Armed for 2700 damage and then go 1700 direct. But is he able to summon anything else out? There's no Vayu or Sirocco anywhere. No Blackwing on the board either to special summon a Gale. So this is probably going to be the amount of damage being dealt, 4400 total. No Tragodia possible anymore, I think. Or no, actually that was last game. Tragodia is still possible. Take 2700 damage. Is he going to take the 1700 damage, going down to just 1700, taking all that pressure? Or is there something like a Battle Fader out there? Is there a Gorz or a Trag in the hand? Doesn't appear to be. No response. And yeah. Sir Dorian is definitely going to have to pick apart this board. Is there a Caius or something in the hand to tribute? Does appear to be the case. Dark Arm Dragon banished. That does mitigate a ton of damage. 1000 life points down for Samu. Does he decide to attack? Has run into a bunch of things earlier against the Blackwing deck. Does it again now. This 1700 can just be the game. Already normal summoned. Needs to special summon the Swap Frog to stay alive, it seems. But this is very, very weak defense. I'm not too sure if Sir Dorian made the right move attacking over this Dark Grepher, because if there's any more monsters, this could just be game for Samu Pustano. And let's see what they're able to do. If they need to interact with the back row or not, or can just summon another monster to attack over the Swap Frog and attack for game. And Samu taking his time, deliberating what to do. Obviously, a lot on the line. Needs to make the right move, needs to make the right play. Knows that this, if the correct play is made, this could win him the entire tournament. So putting on the big thing, definitely reasonable here. Taking a little bit of his time. Sir Dorian, obviously very okay with that. Hasn't been taking too much time yet. No, this is the grand finals. So if Sir Dorian wins, we do go to a bracket reset. But it is the grand finals game 3. Because Samu has not lost yet. And Samu really taking his time here. Like I said, tournament win could be here in this turn if he sequences correctly. If he's able to do the correct moves. Might not be able to interact with the back row, because if that's the case, if there's like an MST in the hand and a monster to attack over the Swap Frog, then definitely would have done it. Discarding the Plague Spreader Zombie with the Dark Grepher to be able to dump something into the graveyard. Last turn, the Necrogardener was dumped, so no Synchro coming out of the extra deck, because the Vayu now needs to be dumped instead of a Sirocco. 2 Dark Grephers. So is this going to connect? Is this going to win the game? It's a burial, and that's the game, that's the match. Samu Pustano wins the HRC Series number 1. We have our winner. Congratulations to Samu Pustano. All right, what a match. Oh, I've loved this tournament. Loved casting it. Loved how you guys gave feedback about it, and yeah. So this tournament completely done. Want to give a big shout out to Samu Pustano for winning the tournament. Also, obviously, Sir Dorian did very well as a runner-up. Beat all these Vayu Turbos. Very commendable, especially with this spicy build. And if you want to see what exactly is in his build, we will be showcasing it later on the channel. So subscribe for that if you haven't already. I will be posting the top 8 lists on YouTube later on in this week. But that's it for this tournament for today. So I might be coming back on the stream because ENT Collectibles has asked me to do the stream for their tournament. But I think I need to take a little bit of a break. My voice has been rasping up a little bit here. Been streaming, except for the break, kind of non-stop since 3.5 hours ago. So definitely going to take a break. Definitely going to step away from the mic right here and talk to ENT Collectibles to see exactly what the situation is with their tournament. But if you want to watch more Edison content today, I will be posting it in the edisonformat.com Discord in general chat if I go live again. So keep your eyes peeled on that if you want to watch more content. And I'm going to end it here. Thank you guys all for tuning in. Thank you for a great